we have 14 people. And so with that, I will call the meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. Ask Tima to take the roll with the understanding, obviously, that we'll add people as they come. Oh,
Sure. Give
15.
me one moment. Let me get to my
Thank you, Tima.
And we've got a 6:33 start time.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I can't always see everybody that's on, so I will need everyone unmuted and be able to respond with a here. Give me one moment. Sorry, I'm just sort of moving windows around. All right. David,
I'm here.
Gary,
Here.
I am here. Helen,
Here.
Mark,
Here.
Soraya,
Here.
Erica,
Here.
Allie,
Here.
Brennan,
Here.
Clark, Jason, Jim,
Here.
Joe, Kenya, Lisa,
Here.
Nico, Richard,
Here.
Sarah,
Here.
Ted,
Here.
Yolanda,
Here.
Fran.
Here.
Tell me I didn't miss anyone. I think I got everyone. So I've got Joseph, Kenya, and Nico and Clark as currently absent.
Okay. Terrific. Then let's move on.
Really quickly, it looks like Kenya just hopped on, so I'm going to promote her to panelist.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Let's mark her as present and just have her say she's
Will
here.
do.
Thank you.
I just mark her as present. We're good.
Terrific. Thanks so much, folks. Let's move on to declaration of ex parte communications or conflicts and or recusals. Is there anything from anyone? I'll just remind everyone that our current system involves filing those as supporting documents, and hopefully, if there were any, they would have been they would have been filed. I don't believe I saw any in supporting documents. So unless there's something recent that someone wants to disclose, I'll just take a moment. Is there anyone?
Oh, so ex parte is now we give that to you in advance?
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
so
But
sorry. I
that's
don't
okay,
have any, but
Alex.
I didn't know
Don't,
that. Okay.
don't worry. Totally fine. These little things are changing. And look, they're designed, all of them are designed to try to sort of save us a minute here and a minute there so we can
Gotcha.
take as much time as we possibly can to get public and board comment on the important things. Okay. With that taken care of, I'd like to move on to new business. I'm going to say one very, very brief thing, which is just that we all know what's going on. I have appreciated all of your support. Um, there may be a time and place to address all that, but this is not it. We have really important business, and that is the bylaws. We have two groups, the Rules Committee and the petitioners, who spent a lot of time and put a lot of thought into doing this. This is a quite unusual meeting in its structure, and I just want to take a minute to explain and remind everyone of that. First, because we're considering bylaw amendments, every vote tonight requires a two-thirds majority of the full board, which means 14 votes. Without 14 votes, it's a no. Something will not pass unless it has 14 votes. As I noted in the agenda, because of the complex and sort of unwieldy issues, which include representation, really, the nature and size of our representational system and the composition of the board, what we're going to do is we're going to address a series of questions, which, when they're answered, determine which parts of the competing proposals we will be adopting or declining to adopt. In the end, we can, or we may or may not change the composition side of the board, size of the board, the representation, and the duties and powers of the officers. So I want to be super clear because I really want to get as much public comment on all these as possible, but I want everybody to understand very clearly how we're going to do it. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to have discussion on issues. This has been divided into 6 issues. They do have subsidiary questions, but discussions and comments are going to be on the issues, which involve the questions. And then we're going to take votes on the questions themselves. I tried to get the agenda up as early as possible. I think it's been up for better part of a week to give everybody, I know you all got my note to please do your homework. I'm sorry I had to say that, but it really is important. So with that in mind, the first thing we're going to talk about is issue 1. And I want to just take 1 second to frame issue 1 for everyone. Issue 1 is district versus interest representation. We're going to have 15 minutes of public comment. We're going to have board discussion for about 30 minutes, and we're going to spend 15 minutes voting on the questions as they're necessary. If for those, if you haven't looked at the agenda, I'm just going to make sure everybody understands. District representation means dividing Venice into areas of approximately equal population, whereas interest representation means dividing Venice into areas which have similar concerns. The question here, now right now we don't do any of that, as you know. Right now, what we do is we elect at-large, a number of at-large board members. The 2 proposals are different forms of representation. They would still each maintain some at-large seats, but they break Venice up in different ways. One described as district representation, one as interest representation. So again, a division by district representation has been proposed by the Rules Committee, whereas a system of interest representation has been proposed by the petitioners. So I also want to explain the questions in the decision tree, and then we will open it up to public comment on issue number 1. The first question is basically, do we want to change anything? Do we just like what it is? Okay. If there are 14 votes to make a change, I want to read the question. Shall the bylaws be changed from the current at-large system to a system of either interest or district representation? So again, the first question is, do you even want to make a change? And then we'll talk about what change you want. So that's the first question. If 14 say yes, then we're going to decide what kind of change we want. If there's not support to make a change, we're going to move on to the next issue. But if there is, the first question will be, that's actually question 2, sorry. Second question is, shall the bylaws be amended to create an interest-based system? Okay, the interest-based system is the system proposed by the petitioners. And if there are 14 votes for yes, then those changes proposed by the petitioners and the map and the area descriptions that Soraya will put up, offered by the petitioners, will be deemed approved and will replace the current at-large system as indicated in the supporting documents. If there are not 14 votes to adopt an interest-based system, then we'll talk about what's called the district representation system, which is proposed by the Rules Committee. Obviously, if we adopt question 2, we will move on. But otherwise, we'll talk about question 3 and talk about whether the map proposed by the Rules Committee and that system should be adopted. Okay? And that's how we're going to go through this first issue. And you can understand the issue as, do we want to change our system of representation? And if so, how? With that, I would like to open it up to public comment on issue 1. I want to say just one more thing about how we're going to do public comment. We're going to try to allow as much public comment as absolutely possible. There are no limits tonight because it's Zoom. We can go as late as we have to, I hope. There aren't limits tonight on how many times you can speak, but I am going to try to monitor so that people who haven't spoken before are able to speak and get priority.
Mr. Chairman, point of clarification, point of
Yes,
information.
Karen, go ahead.
Before we start, because I read through this whole thing and I have to confess, I get it, but I'm also a little unclear about, I get the district because that's geographic.
Mhm.
Could you, given your lawyer, can you give just one more or 2 more sentences of how you view
that the MVA has it all. The
what?
hustle.
What just happened? Oh, can you give one more sentence of how you view interest representation? Because I'm not sure, I couldn't quite define it, and I'm not sure that it doesn't bring up
It's not
additional interest.
okay. I will try my best to answer these questions. Let me make clear, I have no position on this. I just want the issues debated and discussed. I think that the best description is that it divides Venice, as I said, into areas which have similar concerns. You can see the difference. So there. And that is based on the petitioner's map. I can let them speak to it and define it. I don't want to be the person who sort of speaks for anybody or moderates those things. But I think it's perfectly fine when we do that to have any of the petitioners describe it. But let's move on.
Okay,
If
thank
we
you.
can. Oh, wait, there's one more. Lisa Redmond. Sorry.
Clarification.
Do you have a point of
Yes.
point of information? Sure.
This is outside of our normal format of, the Roberts rules with motions. What if a board member wanted to make an amendment?
Okay. At the point at which, so here's the thing. Look, and let me explain why, just very briefly, why we did this the way we did it. This is incredibly intricate and very complicated. There will be two opportunities for amendment. If something is accepted, we can then move on to amendments. But I've got to caution you, if we get mired in a whole series of amendments, which are ultimately then new questions that require public comment and so on and so forth, I have real doubts that we'll get through this. The second option, just to explain the big thing, and then I really want to let everybody else talk, is at the end of this, if we have made changes, you are going to get to vote to establish a very, very small committee whose sole duty is to implement these changes and get back to the board by the April 21st meeting, full red line that incorporates everything that you guys can then look at. At that point, you could also move to amend things, but I have to warn everyone again that that could be a very complicated and cumbersome process, and it's unclear to me whether we could get through it, but that is not for me to decide. Okay. Now, I'd like to move on, if we could, to public comment, and I think I see both Ian and Naomi. Ian, why don't you lead us off for a minute, and then obviously Naomi. And I should just say, Naomi, I know that as a spokesperson for the petitioner's position, we'll come back to you with some regularity. Okay, go ahead, Ian.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I think this is a problematic format. The way that this should have been done is through the Rules Committee, the way it was done last year. I think the proposal from last year's Rules Committee was probably the best you're going to get, and it should probably have just been brought up again a second time, because this year the Rules Committee didn't even meet until Ted came up with his own version, and then they all rubber stamped it. And I don't think it's a question of district or representation only. It could be yes and it could be at large in addition. The Grassroots Venice Neighborhood Council was praised by Bonk and Dunn as being incredibly inclusive and also a successful neighborhood council system for a long time. And their system had both district areas and at large and executive members who, did the things like president and secretary and that kind of stuff. So I don't know if either of these proposals really does that, and I'm not sure that this is something that needs to happen immediately. That it probably should just be tabled. I haven't been able to read Naomi's proposal, so I don't want to speak negatively about it. But Ted's proposal is garbage. I wouldn't do it. It's a horrible idea. It's designed to streamline fascism taking over Venice. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. Naomi, you have a minute. Let's try to. It'll be a long night, but let's go ahead. No, go ahead, Naomi. Thank you. Whoop, Naomi, all right, I think you need to unmute.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see the button before. It's not Naomi's proposal, it's the petitioner's proposal, just to be clear. And I just want to say, according to the way that it was presented this evening, the vote to change the bylaws on this issue number 1, I strongly support changing the bylaws so that we have representation by interest. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm just sort of going down for the first time, and the next person is a phone number. Oh, wait, was that Ian before? It was. Okay, Ian, if you could lower your hand, that'd be great. Rob LNL, you have a minute.
It's Scott.
Oh, Scott, I'm sorry. I'm just reading the name on the screen. Go ahead.
No problem. Before public comment, it'd be nice to hear the arguments for and the arguments against each amendment by the board members. The public has a right to hear these in order to help determine their thoughts. Before you talk about representation, we should first start with defining stakeholders and who can vote and what their voting rights are. I'm concerned the petitioner's proposal severely undermined the community's diversity and representation of the VNC. I say no to question 1. With district representation, you start going down a rabbit hole and drawing up maps and ensuring they are fair and equitable. Representation with similar interests. What determines similar interests? We may agree on some things, but not on other things. Who determines what constitutes similar interests? Again, this seems biased and a recipe for misuse. I also think this constitutes on how you define stakeholders. So until you answer that question, I don't think we can answer this question.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you so much. Robin Muras.
Hi. So I'm kind of in agreement with each of the previous speakers. And I think what would be helpful is if you'd put up the two proposals next to one another, the maps of both of them. And I think the names you've given them are extremely misleading. So this is the petitioners, and it's not just the interests are really based on their neighborhoods. So it's neighborhood representation. And so there are some common interests that different people who live in different parts of Venice have some common interests. But the proposal of the petitioners, which I am one of, gets into detail that makes a lot of sense and does take into consideration all stakeholders. And the other one is very arbitrary. It's big, huge districts that I don't see making sense. So I really think you do need, as the last person said, you need to give some explanation here as to what's really being done. Again, the petitioners also have you voting for things like LUPEC, whereas the other one has LUPEC to be assigned from board members. I mean, LUPEC is a chair of LUPEC is somebody who needs to have expertise in that field. So there are lots of aspects of this that in the broad one that was from rules make no sense, as somebody said, but the way you're defining them, David, I don't think those are the proper descriptions. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I'm not defining anything. And second of all, I hope that everybody remembers the first part of this meeting took place at the last meeting where both the petitioners and a representative of the Rules Committee were given 10 full minutes to present all of this to the board and to the public. And in fact, which is, as you know, a fairly unusually long time. And in fact, both the petitioners and the Rules Committee made fairly detailed presentations concerning exactly what and how, what they wanted and how. And I would prefer not to be the spokesperson for either, but rather to let each side speak for themselves, which they did at the last meeting. I do also want to just address, from a procedural point of view, Robin, your concern. The election of chairs is discussed in issue 2 specifically. So that is independent of issue 1. Depending, irrespective of what happens in issue 1, we will move on to issue 2 and discuss whether or not the chairs should be appointed or elected. Just so that's clear. Is there any other public comment? Yeah. Is your hand up intentionally? There was,
Yes.
yes. Okay.
Yeah, the presentations did not cover these questions that you're asking in this. That's not what the presentations did. So I disagree with you. I don't think we were fairly informed about what this is. This is new. I haven't heard arguments for or arguments against for both proposals. And I've just heard kind of generic statements about them, but not addressing these specific questions here. And I feel the public has a right to know. So I disagree with you about that.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to board comment. And given what I've heard, I do want to ask the board whether there is a desire to hear again, perhaps brief presentations about each of these representational systems. I'm totally open to that. I do think that's stuff that we covered we covered in some depth at the last meeting, and I'm cognizant of how much, we have to accomplish. But I see Ally, I see a hand.
Just an answer to that question, only because to members of the public, it was difficult to read all this stuff, and it took me I'm sure all of us, I'm sure, a really long time.
Very complex.
And I don't know, you gave us a week, you didn't give the public a week to sort of wade through it. So maybe it would be good if each person got just even, it's worth the minute or two, I think, to give their
Happy to do
thought.
that. I'm happy to do
I think it
that,
might be good, even though we might know it and know how we're going to vote. I think it might be great for the public.
Totally agree.
I'm happy to do that. Just
Okay, cool.
by the way, we worked really hard to get the agenda and all the supporting documents up all the way last Thursday.
Yeah, thank you. That was awesome.
So let's do this. It's a tiny bit unusual, but again, this is an unusual meeting. What I'd like to do is offer Michelle or Naomi or anyone who you guys would like to have speak on behalf of the petitioners, just 2 minutes to explain the proposals in a sort of concise way. You can refer to the maps and so on and so forth. And I'd like to do the same thing. I see that Liz Wright is here. She was the one who did the presentation on behalf of the Rules Committee last time. I'd like to give her 2 or 3 minutes as well. So why don't we do that? Naomi, are you okay to start?
Okay, yes, I was trying to,
I'm sorry, I did not, by the way, intend to put you on the spot, but there's a desire to sort of rehear a summary, and I think it makes sense given the gravity of what we're dealing with. So go ahead.
Sure, yeah, and there's been some time since our last meeting when we did talk about it. So, when at the last meeting where we did talk about the pros, the 15 districts and those that were for the 4 districts. The petitioners, which I'm a part of, are for the 15 districts. And that is to provide adequate, effective representation of all of the Venice community by district, so that individuals will know who their point person is, their contact person, who they can go to with issues, concerns, complaints about whatever's going on in their specific community. The 15 districts, people who vote in a particular district can only vote in the district that they live, and they vote for the one person, however many people are running, for the one person that they would like to have represent them and the area in which they live, which I think is the best way to get a broader based representation of the Venice community that can then come to the neighborhood council board and present issues and concerns that can be addressed specifically, rather than having no particular representation as it exists right now on the board, where people just come with a topic that is brought to them that the board member may have an interest, but then has to determine whether or not the community as a whole is interested in that. So I am really representing that we should have adequate, efficient representation on a district basis, where people will have someone that can represent them, that they can hold accountable for the issues and concerns that they would like brought to the broader council.
Naomi, if you wouldn't mind, if I could just clarify something quickly, just because while both of these are technically districts, we had to try to explain them, so we used interest for yours, for the petitioners, and I'll make sure to be very clear about which map is whose. But I want to just say one thing, since you mentioned 15, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I do want to explain. There are 10 districts.
There are 10 districts, yes, it was changed from 10.
Map, There are
Mhm.
three at-large representatives, four at-large representatives and one uh, community interest representative. Is that correct?
Yes.
So,
Mine was stuck on 15
right.
from
No,
before.
no,
So
I
yeah,
understand. I
10. Yeah.
understand. I just want to be
Yeah.
sure all the board understands exactly what we're talking about.
Right.
So, to put it a different way, if you were to look at a ballot, if you were to adopt the petitioner's proposal and you were looking at a ballot, you would vote for one person from the area where you live, work, where you're a stakeholder, with which corresponds to the number, right?
Right.
Then
Right.
you'd vote for four additional people who are the at-large representatives for all of Venice, and then
Right.
there would be, and then there's still the community interest person, the, for want of
Right.
a term, I apologize, the Sarah, representing, right, which is a
Right.
different category, which would also be retained in the petitioner's proposal. Is that all
It,
correct?
that's all correct.
Okay, I just
Yes.
want to be sure everybody understands that so that we're really clear about that. Why don't we move
Point
on?
of order, David.
Yes. Hi, Helen.
Additionally, you're leaving out that you would still be voting for the president, vice president,
Yes,
treasurer,
yes, of course.
secretary, and the three chairs.
Of course, that does
Okay,
not.
Helen, I was just
They're
getting
not
ready.
changing the number of members of the board,
That is correct.
unlike the rules and elections.
I was just getting ready to say that, but
Okay,
I'm
Sorry,
still
sorry,
everyone.
taking a
Naomi. I was just,
This, I'm so sorry. You're 100% correct. Nothing in either proposal at this point has anything to do with the election of the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. That's not what we're talking about. That's not those remain. You're absolutely correct. I apologize if I for not including that. But thank you, Helen. That's right.
And David, one more point of order.
Yes,
Just
Alan.
to answer Scott's question, this includes unhoused, obviously
course.
residents, but it wasn't said. So
Nothing,
it might be unclear.
nothing is changing in the definition of the
But I don't
stakeholder.
think Scott knew that. I think that, or Ian,
sorry,
one of
Scott.
them had that question. That's important.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay.
To be clear, again, nothing else. This is why we broke these out in the way that we did. Nothing about the definition of stakeholder changes in issue one. So, with that, I would love to open it up to board comment on this. My plan here, given the length we have, is to give you a minute 30 seconds to explain, and then if we have time, a quick 30 seconds to respond, and so forth.
But don't we want to hear the second point of view?
Thank you. It's been a long week. I'm really sorry. You're
We want to hear Liz.
100% correct. We need to hear Liz. I'm so sorry. Yes, Liz, go ahead. Thank you.
The Rules Committee addressed an issue that has frequently been brought to its attention, namely, many people consider the board size too big. 21 people is too many. So the Rules Committee reduced that to 13. Not necessarily an optimum number, but if 13 is voted on and turns out it doesn't work, change it the next time, next go around. The areas on the colored map each have a population of about 9,500. That's a lot of people, and people with much varying concerns. To address that issue, the Rules Committee also said, if this is adopted, then every area representative must hold quarterly a town hall for its constituents and explain what the neighborhood council is doing and get input from the people in the area, any issues that have not already been brought to the board's attention. Okay? In terms of who can vote, people who live, work, or own property can vote, and homeless people live, obviously. So yes, they can vote.
And Liz, again, if you wouldn't mind, would it be correct? This also contains at-large delegates. We're not talking about president, vice president, and secretary treasurer. Those are not here. But it's not just for, it's similar to
Okay.
petitioners.
All right. All right.
Go ahead.
Let me
Just
go on.
explain that so you can explain sort of
All
what
right.
the ballot would look like so everybody has a
The
really
board structure would be the 4 executive offices, president, secretary, treasurer, and
right.
whatever the other one is.
Vice president.
Okay. Vice president. Yes. 4 at-large offices.
Right.
4 area representatives.
Which is the map that we're
And
looking
each
at.
stakeholder would get to vote for only the representative running in that area.
And also the at-large.
4 at-large.
Correct. That's all I wanted to make clear to everyone. So the
And the
ballot
community
there,
interest.
right, would also include community interest officer, the at-large delegates, and just 4 from these areas as described in the map. Okay. Let's now move on to board comment. Again, as I said before, I'm going to try to go with a minute 30 seconds. I obviously want to hear from everybody. I see Ted, so why don't you lead us off, Ted? Also, I am going to urge everyone to please keep their cameras on for Brown Act purposes. Thank you. Go ahead.
Can you
Yes,
hear
we
me
can
now?
see you and hear you. Yes.
Okay. I wanted to thank Liz again for very succinctly and accurately summing up and introducing the committee's proposal. On this question of, do we want representation at an area level at all, and how many, and how do they be divided up? I think that the misconception about the committee's map is that we're, trying to divide up Venice into pieces. We don't look at it that way. I think what we're trying to do here is say right now we have, this kind of unwieldy board of 21 people. It's tough for constituents to participate, especially in the formal process of the board meetings like they are now. And what we want to do with the Rules Committee proposal is say we're assigning a board member to each of the 4 corners of the town, of the neighborhood, and that once a quarter, those representatives who are assigned to those corners, are going to go out and have a more casual town hall where folks who live in that area don't have to go as far. They can come to a more casual, friendly meeting. They can find out what the VNC is up to from that representative, and they can express what their priorities are for this whole board. And that's the basic idea. Is it's about being able to assign an envoy to each of the districts to kind of bring this down to a human level, where hopefully we can get more people participating in our meetings. We can hopefully get more people participating in our elections. And we can have a stronger connection to the community and to our constituents.
Thanks, Ted. Mark, you go next, and then I see Richard and Sarah. So go ahead. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I'm interested in which proposal will not so much better represent Venice or these districts or these areas, but how can we get more people involved in not only, voting for things, but also be more involved in the decisions we all take. So I'm, on one hand, like the fewer numbers of districts and fewer members, but at the same time, it feels a little bit more distancing because you have now a representative who is like, oh, he's doing the job for us, and so we don't have to get involved. So those are my sort of two sort of areas which I have to vote over it. And even though I'm not a masochist, I like the sort of unwieldy, sometimes meetings which we have. It takes a lot of people to come there, but I would like to have more of that in a sense. So on one level, I like more the sort of the fewer maybe make better, like get us more into the issues, but the more is more representation.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. Richard, go ahead. And then
Yeah, I'd just like to remind everyone, we're not voting on left versus right here. We're voting on whether we continue with 13 at large or we enter in a discussion of left versus right. So really that's the issue. And we're jumping ahead instead of just saying, do we want to continue as we are, or do we want to go to something different?
Right. To emphasize what Richard's saying, the question number one will be, do we want to change anything? Question number two will be, do we want essentially the petitioner's 10 district map version? Question three is, if no, would we like the rules committee's 4 district structure as we've discussed? Sorry, Richard, I didn't mean to cut you off. If you want to continue, please do.
Can you explain what you mean, Richard, about left versus right? I got lost with that.
Well, I mean, the petitioner's map or the committee's map.
Oh, that kind of left.
That's not the issue now. The issue is whether we stay with 13 or we go to one of these.
Got you.
Allie, I'm just going to remind, we try to keep the crosstalk, I know you know. Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's important that we have representation. And I think it's important that this representation comes from the community. And the petitioner's map and districting looks a heck of a lot more representative of what we are in Venice, which is a vast, culturally diverse group and pockets of many, many neighborhoods and people. And as much as I would love to say that I would love to pluck 7 of you off the board and eeny, meeny, miny, mow you off. Okay, that's it. I think it's important that we have all of us. And again, I would love to pick a petal off every time I show up to a board meeting, but I think every one of us is immensely important, contrary to, what other people may feel. So I think it's important each and every one of us brings something very important to this board. And we represent a very diverse group of people. I mean, just think about the people you represent. So anywho, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Gary, I see your hand. Go ahead.
So I have a couple of thoughts here.
Gary, can you turn on your camera? I'm sorry. I know I'm a broken record about this, but I did get guidance on it, and I'm just trying to ensure. Thank you so much.
I just don't look that great, but that's okay. I think Venice is very different. I think even in the alley that I live on, and there are many board members on it, we all have different opinions. It's very hard to create an interest-based, when someone may surf, someone may care about art, someone may care about parks, someone may, there's so many interests that I do think that we are a diverse community, and it deprives the stakeholders of making those decisions. The bigger issue to me is, can we get people to run and people to vote? And I don't think saying that, like, for instance, that that I don't know, that the beach and oceanfront better example, that the canals and what's behind it and the end of the boardwalk, the peninsula, they're very different issues. Some are water issues, some are tourist issues. And our job is to represent everyone and to go out and make sure we're representing everyone. So I would like to make a motion to actually reduce to 13 first and see if that plays before we go any further. But I don't know if that's okay.
We're not, I'm sorry, that's going to be out of order. We're going to do it this way. There will be opportunities if you want later. There are opportunities for amendment, but not here.
Okay, so just the 5 seconds. What I'm going to say is, I think that both of these maps don't address the real interests of all of Venice, because they're not geographic and they're not so specific as they've done here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jason, I saw you, and then also Helen and Erica. Jason, why don't you go ahead?
No, I don't really have one. I'm still trying to figure out how less representatives makes more better representation. So I'll just listen along.
Okay, thank you so much. And if you want to jump back in, you used almost no time, so feel free. I see Helen, Erica, and then Lisa. Go ahead. Helen, go ahead.
Yeah. I just want to point out that the petitioner's map, the point of it is to have better representation for the stakeholders. The common interest is it's based on existing neighborhoods. You ask people where they live in Venice, they'll tell you where they live, and they usually identify it by a neighborhood. That's very common. And it also is an attempt to have them be equally fairly fair in the numbers. They're not exact, unlike the rules thing, which basically said, oh, we're just going to focus on population. That's not what neighborhood representation is about. You're going to have a plus or minus, but you're going to at least have people who have a common interest and share a common interest in their neighborhood. And this is about community organization. No one ever organizes a community by making gigantic areas. It doesn't work. You break it down into smaller units so people have someone who is responsible to them. And, you know, we've had on our council a lot of people who end up living west of Lincoln with East Venice completely unrepresented. And this is a model that a lot of NCs use. They don't use massive districts, which even the rules committee admitted in their paperwork, there's no common interest. And how are you going to hold 16 town halls a year? That's the one I want to know. It's unworkable from the rules proposal.
Thanks so much, Helen. Lisa, why don't you go ahead, and then Erica and Soraya.
Sorry. Before my time begins, I have a question, clarifying question. So this is only asking question one. Do we want representation or not? So I have lots of time to say and argue against one or the other later, right?
No,
so right now, we're arguing for
As
representation. Will I be allowed to make a comment later?
so we're discussing issue one, which is the combination of the three questions. So if you want to address directly which one of the proposals you like and or why, this is the time to do that.
So this is where I have to say everything pro or minus against one or the other, not just question one. This is my only opportunity to speak.
Well, no, you'll have another one. You'll have another one afterwards. And Lisa, if you've got a lot to say, go ahead. Let's hear it.
Well, no, I'm trying to understand. I can just cede my time now just to say yes, we need representation if it's only answering question one.
No, it's questions 1, 2, and 3, which constitute issue 1.
Okay, well, this is a very confusing system. I just don't understand.
Do you want to take a minute? Do you want to take a minute, and we can go to somebody else and come back to you?
Yeah, I'm going to go back and read the agenda again.
Okay, no problem. Erica, why don't you go ahead?
Hi there. I'm going to agree that I think this, a minute and a half or whatever is not enough time to address three questions that are very vast. I definitely am interested in representing the stakeholders that I'm in East Venice. East Venice has expressed over and over, and East Venice is 30% of Venice, that they want the area representation that has the 10 different areas. And one of the reasons is this, and I'll give you a real world experience from this weekend. I'm the outreach chair. I went and did outreach at Penmar Park. They had the Jungle Jive egg hunt. And at the Jungle Jive egg hunt was lots of families. There were some that were not from our area. But the Jungle Jive event was a combination event this year. First time this has ever been done. It was Penmar and Oakwood together. Guess how much representation there was from Oakwood? Like barely any. Barely any people from Oakwood came. Not because they hate East Venice, but because it wasn't in their neighborhood. So it's like they need their own event. They need, and I was concerned about this before it happened. And I know where people came from because I asked them. And I talked with the new, there's a new person that's in charge of the rec center who's amazing. And I'm very excited about her. Her name's Francine. But anyways, not to divert. This is really important because it's about the neighborhoods. It's not just quote unquote interest. Each neighborhood has different problems and different things that they face. And actually, it's interesting because something that someone mentioned earlier is, okay, the canals versus the peninsula. The peninsula has very different issues that need to be directed to someone who's familiar with the area. With having only 4 reps, which is the other proposal, you are not guaranteed you're going to get somebody who has any knowledge or inkling of that area at all.
Thank you.
And to expect 4 volunteers to take on these huge, massive areas and to go and learn all, it's not realistic. It's just not, we're having a problem with all the representation we have now with people correctly really, representing their groups and areas. And yeah, 16 town halls, that's not realistic. As it is right now, you have very little participation of board members in town halls.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I have to
Sarah.
say about that. And I don't think that isn't a reasonable amount of time to be able to give our opinions because there's a lot more to say. The last thing I want to say that's really important is the distinction is about voting. One of the reasons everybody for the most part I've ever talked to wants more than one vote for the at-large people. And both
Erica,
of these options
as I explained earlier.
You know what? I want to say this, David. At the last meeting, I was cut off twice when I went to give my public comment, twice on 2 issues. And it was kind of a big bummer. So I'm not saying that grants me, special privileges to talk a lot more today, but I'm just saying that did happen to me in the last meeting. And I just want to say that this is a very serious topic. To change our bylaws is a very serious thing. And I think that it deserves real vetting and real information for everyone to consider and know about. And I think that there were very few people at those rules meetings. And I'm concerned about people's knowledge about what's really being offered or not offered. Thanks.
Okay. Tima.
Mr. President, I'd
I'm
like
so
to
sorry.
speak. This is Yolanda. I can't raise my hand.
Yolanda, okay. I hear you. I'll make sure you get a moment. Soraya's next, then Tima, then you. Okay?
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. Go ahead, Soraya.
Yeah, I just wanted to add and maybe echo some of the points that have been previously made, including one, I think we're all in agreement that trying to maximize the board's ability to represent Venice appropriately and truly is all of our North Star goal. And I think what I'm hearing is the goal of this redistricting proposal or having sub-districts to the Venice Neighborhood Council is an effort to increase that representation, whether it be, and it's just a question of how. I think, however, what my impression of the building blocks of those issues are not necessarily a districting problem, but an accountability problem, a voter engagement problem, a need for more outreach, need for more board presence in Venice. And I don't think I'm sufficiently convinced that the top-down approach of doing redistricting and board member kind of delegation is necessarily the best way to get that common goal, because in order for that to be effective, we do need to have many people running for the board. We do need to have many people from Venice voting for the board. And I think that focusing on those shorter term goals of increasing our voter engagement, increasing our outreach, and trying to get communities engaged rather than doing this top-down redistricting might be a more effective way rather than changing our bylaws.
Thanks so much, Soraya. I believe I said Tima and then Yolanda, and I now see Allie. So we'll go Tima, Yolanda, Allie. Go ahead, Tima.
I'm probably taking a different tack than everybody. I prefer that we don't redistrict Venice at all. I feel that the at-large approach is actually quite successful in representing Venice. I find that only recently has it been unsuccessful? And I would equate that more to the board's difficulty in managing itself than in interest. If East Venice is such a large voting block, why don't we have more people from East Venice? It's not like they can't run at large, and if they run at East Venice and campaign in East Venice, they should be able to be on the board. They're not. So I'm not so sure that they necessarily want that representation or could even put up candidates that would be successful because they can't do it on their own. So just handing them their own district doesn't necessarily equate to them suddenly providing a board member. I appreciate the at-large. I feel that I know that everyone on the board cares about all of Venice. Yes, we are in neighborhoods, but to imply that I somehow don't care about East Venice or care more about Oceanfront Walk is incorrect. And I'm pretty sure that relates to everybody on this on this board. So I'm going to be voting no to both of these options, although I do admire and appreciate the effort put into creating them.
Thanks so much, Tima. Really appreciate it. Yolanda, I know you're having trouble raising your hand, so why don't you go ahead, and then Allie, I see you.
Yes, I'd like to express something. I've been on this board since day one, since 2006, actually. And I wish Dunn would have shown up to explain of other neighborhood councils that have been either put it are in quadrants or have different districts. And I believe that's about 5 of them out of the 99 neighborhood councils, and they function very, very well. Number 2, I wish that this meeting would have been in person because this is very delicate. This is very, very important. And I would have wished that we could have brought a new perspective of how we came about to being certified through the neighborhood councils to demonstrate why we got certified, because we described at that time what the population was, who was in that population, and the interest of that population. Number 4, I'm in agreement with Tima. And I'm going to give you a perfect example of what we did. When Antonio Villaraigosa was our mayor, he put up a grant per neighborhood council to do street paving. Dee, Shally, and I believe Naomi was on it. We took the interest at large representation to go to East Venice and pave the most important missed streets that needed paving on the east side. We have never been able, though, to get anybody from the east side to really come forward to represent that area. And even though I went out to pull them and grab them in, it's a different district, just like the canals is. We put up solar lights on the peninsula as an at-large member. We did a lot of things for the whole community, for the whole Venice. But the problem is today is attitude of some of the board members. And that's why we can't get the right people to come into our meetings. We used to have 200 or 150 come in, but everybody takes an interest in Venice.
We've already gone 40 minutes, and I'm going to really want to try to get to everybody speaking. Allie, why don't you go ahead, and then Lisa will come back to you, and I would love to give you let you feel heard. Allie, go ahead.
Well, I understand what Tima is saying about, I think that because we're at large, of course we represent all of Venice. And I think even if we were to be representing one of the 10 districts, and that's how we got elected, was by that district and to someone to represent us. What it got me to thinking was, I don't necessarily think of myself as representing my area. I know Sarah does, because she feels like the Oakwood community sort of underrepresented. So she feels, that she but I kind of like that idea, and I'd like to do both. I'd like, if I got represented, got elected to represent this area, both housed and unhoused, I think that, then I'd feel like I was their representative, but of course I would always represent all of Venice because we're on the council. So I don't know. I mean, I'm beginning to, I think that I like the idea of neighborhood represented and me taking more responsibility for just this particular, I already know everybody here, but I mean, I don't really feel like I'm just representing them. And as I'm listening to everybody, I think I'd like to do both. I think it might be cool, or not me, but I mean, whoever was represented. And I do think that voices need to be heard from everywhere, and there's a danger of that being lost if nobody gets elected in a certain one of these 10 districts. If we don't have someone on the board from Oakwood, or we don't have someone from the board from the boardwalk, you know what I mean? So I like it. I like that we would have those 10 districts, and I don't understand the other plan. I don't understand,
Thanks, Ally.
not voting for the, outreach person, that part. I got really lost on their plan, but okay.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Lisa, I want to go to you, and we're, believe it or not, shockingly dead on schedule. We have an extra minute. So why don't you go ahead and take it? We want you to be heard. So go ahead.
Allowed to talk last month or at the last meeting. Again, David, a clear yes or no question. This is our only time to speak on issue 1. We're not going to vote then on question 1 and question 2 and get other times to open up for board comment again, right?
That is correct. We're
Thank
discussing.
you. That's all I needed to know earlier. Okay. All right. So I'm speaking for everything here. This is an incredible decision for the community of Venice and the neighborhood council that we are here to represent per the city charter. This is an incredible amount of change in structure to our council, and absolutely no outreach was done. Even for tonight's meeting, when I talked to other stakeholders and said, hey, there's this meeting tonight, they're like, well, how was I supposed to know about it? Unless they're subscribed to getting agendas. We didn't cross-post to other social media outlets. We didn't reach out to local newspapers to post them. Nothing. Nobody was to know about this, let alone the 2 meetings that Rules and Elections had in February. They came into their first meeting and said, here's the change. They didn't even discuss, hey, do we want to have 4 districts? Do we want to have 6 districts? Should we do 10? It was just like, here it is. This is it, and accept it. We do need representation, and I'm going to disagree that we go with this at large as it has been, because it doesn't work. Many times in the past, we've had to recuse the entire board and have no vote because too many people live close to an area. Incredible. I can't tell you how many votes about the bridge home were dismissed and couldn't happen because too many people live close and they didn't have quorum for the vote. The whole reason we meet at Westminster was because it's too close for everybody to walk over to the Westminster meeting. Too many people live around Main Street. And I believe that most of Venice is a popularity vote. And so maybe they do need to be given a seat in East Venice so that they have an opportunity. Even if somebody wins there by 7 votes, at least they're getting a representation. If they can't get 7 votes across the entire community of Venice, because there's too many popular people across the entire part of Venice, where people vote throughout Venice because they're involved in community-wide organizations. This map that the Rules and Election is giving us of only 4 was never even presented in the committee, was never even seen by the public till tonight or at our board meeting on March 17th. So this hasn't been properly vetted or had the community had an opportunity to speak beforehand. We haven't been given all the entire supporting documents that list all the boundaries. So that's missing. I don't understand how we're going to do quarterly town halls. Everybody, so that's 16 town halls, and we're choosing to eliminate the outreach position. I don't know how that's going to get done. The Rules and Elections Committee is asking 14 people to vote yes to remove 8 of you. That's some incredible math. They're saying that 8 of you that are voting for this tonight are not significant. Also, they voted on their first meeting to have a LUPEC chair, but then they figured out that that wasn't going to work with their map of the chairs. So suddenly it's now back off the table. I don't understand how 4 at-large people are expected to take on LUPEC, take on outreach, take on communications, along with we have 9 standing committees that require board members to be the chair.
I am just gonna, I'm just gonna point out that we will in later issues discuss election versus appointment of the committee chairs.
Well, I don't know because other people
that's on the agenda.
discussing that too.
That's
So
I see a hand
problem
from.
is, if you're going to discuss with me, David, you need to stop the clock. My time is ticking away. Then you're telling me what I can and can't talk about.
No, Lisa, you're well over the minute 30. It's the bottom left clock. I've tried to give you about 4
I
minutes.
don't know. I have a top right clock and then I have a middle clock that isn't even running.
Correct, because you ran out the minute 30 and I let you
Well,
go.
I'm looking at the minute 30 in front of me and it never moved.
Okay. Lisa, is there more that you have to say?
It's just difficult when the Rules and Elections Committee said that they're having 4 areas of people with unlike concerns, and that's going to pit each other, neighborhoods amongst each other, pitting against within their own districts. Let alone, what if one person lives on the peninsula who was elected and they are pitting themselves against the canal area? They're definitely going to represent their own area and not the other part of the neighborhood or their district. So I just think the 4 districts are too wide and large. And additionally, because of the lack of outreach, we're spending a lot of time tonight for something that ultimately is never going to be approved by BOM anyway. So, and that's another subject.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. Are we done?
We're done.
Okay, thank you for that. Nico, I see your hand, and then I'd like to return to Jason in case he had more that he wanted to say, because he only spent 10 seconds before. Go ahead, Nico.
Yeah, so we went through all this 2 years ago. We came up with a map to split up into districts. We changed the at-large voting so that you could vote for more than one at-large seat at a time. I think we eventually voted on splitting up into 5 districts. We spent a lot more time on coming up with that proposal that was eventually voted down than has been put into either of these proposals. And I have to agree with Tima. I don't think that, I represent people in every part of Venice. I know people in every part of Venice. And I care about all of Venice. And I don't think that we should be splitting up in the way that either of these proposals get into. And so, I'll be voting no on both of these, but I also want to bring up the fact that people keep saying East Venice has never had representation. 1, East Venice could run people. 2, I've never been on this. I've been on this board for a while. We've always had people from East Venice on this board. We've always had people from different parts of this district. And really, I think Tima actually came up with a map showing how almost all, and this was 2 years ago, but I think if we did the same thing, it would be pretty similar. How really, geographically, almost all of Venice is covered by who has been elected to this board. And that, that fluctuates from election to election, but that's the nature of elections. Elections have consequences. I don't know how many, I should know, but I think that the bottom vote getter of the at-large maybe got 25 votes, 30 votes, something like that.
Yeah.
If you really care about representation of your area, that's not really that big of a bar to climb. If you really put in the work. So I don't really, I do think we need, diverse representation in various ways, politically, geographically, socioeconomically, racially, but I don't really see that we don't have that.
Nico?
Yeah, is that my time?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. So anyway, I'll be voting no, and I encourage everybody else to do the same.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I want to just lastly jump back to Jason, just in case I said that I would. Jason, is there anything else you want to add?
I'll quickly, I'll try to be concise because that's not usually my thing. I don't mind the additional accountability of maybe doing the town halls, irregardless of what happens here. So that's cool. The changes going through with so little input from the constituents that it will affect that kind of top-down leadership, I say with quotes up, is not really my bag. So with so few people that we are supposed to be representing, having input on how we do this, I'm at a loss to support either side, to tell the truth. My community, I don't really see as being geographical. Me personally, I live across the street from a giant hotel between a beach with a lot of people that don't live necessarily near me or anywhere else. So having lived all over Venice for however long I have friends, people, things that I'm interested in, and things that come to my interest from all over the town. Moving things by population at a time where certain legacy heritage populations have been so quickly and thoroughly diminished just does much more to defeat the voices of what few of those people are left. And back at where I started with my half a comment earlier, I still will never be able to be convinced that less representative somehow means more or better representation. The county's already trying to fix their problem with that. I don't know. I feel like if you want people from other areas to be able to talk to you, I don't care where you live, get in touch. That's all. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Jason. Thanks to everyone. I'm not seeing any further hands. I want to thank all the board members for their trenchant and thoughtful comments. And at this point, I want to explain very, very briefly what's going to happen, because we're going to go on to voting. And the first thing that we're going to vote on is question 1, which is, shall the bylaws be changed from the current system to a system of either interest or district representation? So basically, if there are not 14 votes on question 1, the rest of it is a no-go, and we'll simply move on to issue number 2. If there are 14 votes for a change, we'll then consider what that nature of that change is by considering first question 2 and then question 3. Hopefully that is clear. And with that, I would ask the motion/question on the floor is, shall the bylaws be changed from the current at-large system to a system of either interest or district representation? Even though this isn't sort of strictly Roberts, each question will require, for these purposes.
Second.
And then we're going to go, because of the nature of the vote, we will do a roll call vote with the understanding that it requires 14 for passage. So with that, Tima, if you would.
Second, Jason Sugars.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
who was first? Who was
Make sure
first?
the public understands, because I don't know if they do, that what we're voting for is just, if we vote yes, it's just that it's going to change either way.
Correct.
I'm not sure that,
That's correct.
unless
Question
you
one-
really read this carefully, I'm not sure they
I
understand. I
understand.
just wanted it to be clear. Okay, cool.
Thank you, Paul. All right, Tima, if you would.
Okay, this is the vote on issue 1, whether or
No,
not
question 1, Tima, sorry. Issue 1, question 1.
issue 1, question 1. Sorry,
Thank
let me
you.
put it in my
It's okay.
my voting thing clearly.
Sorry.
Issue 1, question 1. Whether can you state it again?
Yes, let's just take it straight from the question. Shall the bylaws be changed from the current at-large system to a system of either interest or district representation? Those
Thank
are defined above.
All right. Gary?
No.
I vote no. Helen?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Soraya?
No.
Erica?
Yes.
Allie?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
Jason?
I will abstain.
Jim?
No.
Kenya?
Yes.
Lisa,
You're muted, Lisa.
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Sarah,
You're muted, Sarah. She's saying yes. She doesn't seem to be able to
Sarah,
unmute.
here.
She's saying yes. See her thumb?
Yes. Yes.
thank you. Ted,
Ted
Yes.
Henderson.
Yolanda,
Yes.
Fran,
No.
there are 11 votes for yes. David, are you abstaining?
Yes, I'm abstaining unless required to vote.
So if it requires 14
Tima,
votes,
Tima, this is Nico. I'm a no vote also. Sorry.
oh, Nico, I apologize. You're there. Sorry. Got it. Yeah,
Oh,
there are
yeah, please,
11
record Nico
votes
as
for
well.
yes, and then some no's and abstentions. So the vote does not carry if it's required by 2/3.
2/3 is required, and as a result, this does not carry. That system will remain the same, and we would move on to issue 2, which involves the election of committee chairs. As I'll take a moment just to explain that, although it is again in the this is also in the agenda, which is that currently Article 10, Section 2C provides for the separate election of a land use planning committee chair, a communications chair, and an outreach chair. So allowing the appointment of these positions, again, that would be the appointment rather than the election, would reduce the board size while still allowing for whatever, well, it turns out nothing, because the representational system would remain the same. So the only extant question here is, do you want to reduce, the word further is now superfluous, do you want to reduce the number of board members by allowing the appointment of one or more of the chairs? Now, I want to explain again how this works. Once again, and Lisa, we will discuss the issue as a whole, and then we will take each question. Just like last time, the first question is, do we want to change this at all? Do we just want to leave it the way it is? That's the first question. If we don't want if we don't want to change it, we move on to the next issue. If we do want to change it, we will go through each specific position, which is, should the president appoint the outreach chair? Should the president appoint the communications chair? Should the president appoint the land use planning committee chair? These are independent votes. You can vote yes, no, however you want. Yes for one, no for the other. You can split. They're completely independent, because so just to make sure that that's clear. In each instance, if you say yes, you want that to be appointed by the president, then that would then reduce the board size by 1. Does that make sense?
It doesn't make sense to me. That's why I've got my hand up. I'm very confused by the statement. So your option is 13 members, 21 members. Appointing chair. I don't understand what you mean, reduce the number of board chairs by appointing one or more of the chairs. Are you appointing a non-board member as the chair? Is that what you're proposing?
No. I believe this is not me proposing anything.
Well, is that what's being proposed here?
What is being, as I understand it, what is being proposed is that the president will appoint from the board those positions rather than having them independently elected. So we have 45 minutes. We have 45 minutes for this, Soraya. If you want to start that would be terrific. And what I'd like to do is go again and take public comment again on issue number 2, the whole of issue number 2. Feel free to discuss each thing, and then we'll come back and have board discussion. With that, let's start public comment. And Liz, I see Liz, Lydia, Robin, and I think that's Ian. But let's, oh, there's more coming up. So let's start with Liz, and then I'll just go down the screen. Then Lydia, you're next. Go ahead, Liz.
Okay. I think it would be clearer if it was put in terms of if the president appoints one or more of these chairs, shall he appoint from one of the at-large seated board members, or shall there be elected as usual?
Okay. Thank you, Liz. To be clear, I think that just how you describe it, to try to be clear about this. Either we're going to continue with the way it is, which is separate elections for these positions, or if you want the president, me, to appoint that position from within the board, that would reduce, because it was no longer be elected, it would reduce the size of the board by one. Lydia, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. First of all, no one really represents Oakwood like Oakwood. And the fact that there's some kind of grandiose idea that y'all speak for everyone in Venice is really take it down a notch. Because as unique as we are, we show up very uniquely as Venice. And I think that it should be left as a vote because y'all are losing people as it is. B is no longer coming back to the VNC. That's my dear friend representing youth, LGBTQIA, and she is disgusted, thoroughly disgusted. So more representation, more voices, more of not whitewashing Venice. I'm going to say it. It doesn't matter if you're in the canals or from Oakwood or from Rose and Speedway. It doesn't matter because we all love Venice. But what happens is that there's too much of highfalutin ego thinking that you could ever speak for the descendants of the people who built Venice, let alone the Chicano movement, let alone the people that suffered under the gang injunction. And that's how some of you got your properties. So let's be real. And it's not from the top down. It is a circle. We have to fucking commit to a community circle. No one is above the other. And I think that this whole thing needs to be better represented in participation. I do not blame or fault outreach. And I do blame and fault Brian Averill for his weak, spineless resignation to not do the job. And I think that you should keep it as it is, voting, and we should have more representation, not less, because most of you don't speak for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Lydia. I think that's Ian. All right, it's a phone number, I'm sorry. Oh, there you go.
Great. So I don't think this is the right question about committees. I think that committees should be serving at the pleasure of the board. Right now, what you have is someone shows up and says, yeah, I want to be a committee chair to the president. The president says, great, I'm going to nominate you. And then everyone either up or down votes you, but they don't know what you're going to do. And then you pack the committee with a bunch of lunatics, like we saw on the Oceanfront Walk Committee and the Rules Committee and the Public Safety Committee, and you don't represent Venice. And so you bring forward bad motions that should be voted down. Better, we should have some sort of way to recall a bad committee chair, and we should have a representation system than just the committee picking their buddies. So obviously, outreach is an essential job and something people should run for based on their own merits, not on who their friends are. And eliminating that position seems ridiculous. So I would say vote no on this question, or yes, depending on how that's phrased. But yeah, I think these are the wrong questions, and this should all have been done in committee, working this out slowly but surely over time with a little more input than just whatever Ted decided he wanted to do. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks. I see Robin Mures. Go ahead, Robin.
So, first of all, can I ask whomever is operating the screen, the cursor is flying all over the place, and the clock is like blocking other things that we should be able to see. It's really distracting, and there should be a nice, clean, simple way. That's an improvement right there. So please see if you can make it a simpler looking screen that's not blocking everything. Regarding this question, I think it's absolutely essential that the public gets to vote for, particularly Lupek. I mean, that's been someone who in the past has sometimes been very pro gentrification, pro development, I mean, I think all the speakers are addressing that. The public needs to be able to vote for whomever they feel is the most qualified, who has the right qualifications to represent Venice in that role. And then similarly, communications and outreach require a tremendous amount of work and need to be somebody who's really dedicated to doing it and have the background. So absolutely, these need to be voted for and not just assigned from the chair. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Robin. Manny, go ahead.
Hi. Perfect. Okay, so I'd say you should probably vote for this as in yes, because there's way too many people sitting there making the meetings way too long. People are not being held responsible. And I am tired of going to these meetings and just sitting there seeing people arguing, people on drugs, et cetera, et cetera. And I think chair and I think the outreach chair could be something done by someone else that doesn't have to sit there and have to be elected. There's a lot of talented people out there that can do it, that are going to be interested in doing it, and it's something less of a burden on us voters too, because if you see a list of a lot of people on there, people are going to be less inclined to get involved. Like right now I'm trying to do some sort of survey for a car and it was way too long, so I stopped halfway. So let's remember, people are going to be lazy. And I understand that we're not saying vote, that you're not going to vote for all three of those, but at least I think the comms chair and the outreach chair should be someone.
Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it. Rob, I see your hand, and then Liz, I see your hand is still up. But Rob, why don't you go ahead?
Thanks for your comments, Lydia. I feel the concerns you raised are definitely not being addressed by the board, and something needs to be done about what you raised. I appreciate the board being given the space for an open back and forth exchange, and hope VNC representatives maintain this open-minded approach to ensure an informed decision. However, I'm seriously concerned that this process is being rushed. More dialogue and outreach are essential to ensure the community is truly engaged and heard. Furthermore, the fact that only a few community members provide public comment is deeply concerning. The fact that it's being done by Zoom is also equally concerning. I just feel that the board hasn't been given enough time to understand these changes. Not saying anything negative about you, David. I don't think the president should have universal power in appointing chairs or board members. This creates a bias on who the chair is. I feel the board is more capable of appointing or removing a chair and a Lupek chair or the other chairs.
If I could, I do want to address one quick thing, because I've heard about the in-person thing. I just want you to know we tried. I reached out the minute we had to reschedule this meeting. We tried to get a place. We couldn't do it, and I apologize. I want you to know I too would have preferred to do it in person. but here we are. As to the outreach, there's never enough outreach. I mean that seriously. Like
Yeah.
need to we need to do that. I hear that loud and clear. Um, Obviously, because of the bylaws, the unique situation with the bylaws, we were working on borrowed time at the point at which I even came into this. I got us a 30-day extension, which runs out May 1st. So I don't deny that this is faster than I think anybody would have wanted it to go. And I apologize. That part is a bit of a circumstance under our control. That's not an excuse, but it is an explanation for whatever it's worth. But I hear you. I hear all of you, and I appreciate your comments. Liz, I see your hand still up. I see a bunch of hands still up. If you've spoken and you could take your hand down, that would be terrific. Liz, I think you did as well. Is there anybody? There are two up. Up. Rob, you just spoke. Okay. I think that's Ian. Okay. Liz, why don't you go? What? Oh, and I see Robin Rudisell. So, Liz, why don't you go ahead if you have, since you're, and then we'll go to Robin Rudisell, and then we'll see where we are in terms of public comment. Go ahead. Liz.
Okay, sorry about that. Question 1 says that the number of board members will be reduced if these chairs are appointed. And that is not what the Rules Committee recommended. It was if the president appoints a chair, it is someone who was elected at large. So that's number 1. The size of the board would not change. And a comment historically, the reason all of these chairs currently are elected is because initially they were not, and it really did not work.
Okay, thank you. Robin Rudisell.
Hi, I just want to urge you all to vote no on all these questions of appointment by the president. I think we need to keep it more democratic, and people who are qualified and willing to do the work, because these 3 positions are a lot of work and require qualifications and experience, the voters can decide who's the best qualified. They can do their, campaigning, etc. And the voters have been pretty smart about choosing the right person, the best person. And also having the president make those appointments has the potential of bias, and we don't need that. Thank you.
Okay, then that's going to conclude public comment. I want to go to board comment now. Again, we're going to try to do a minute and a half and 30 seconds. I will just say, by the way, as you know, I very seldom weigh in on these. I actually, for whatever it is worth, agree with agree with Robin. I think there's great value in democracy and great value in having elections, including for these positions. That said, I'd like to open it up to board comment. And again, I do try not to weigh in on hardly any of these issues, but because it's oddly phrased as an issue of presidential power, and as you know, none of these this is not my proposal, so I felt the need to clarify that. Nico, why don't you lead us off? And then I see Sarah, Allie, and Erica. Go ahead.
Sure. I'm going to make this quick as I can, since I think I went over on my last time. I agree. I think these should be elected positions. As former communications chair, it's a lot of work, and we need to make sure that somebody is really ready to step into that role. Obviously, Soraya has done a great job at being appointed, but in general, I think it should be an elected position. I feel that way about all the positions. I don't think they should be appointed. Lou Peck has such is really probably the most powerful chair. So I mean that should definitely be an election by the people. And outreach, Erica does an immense amount of work, and as did Seema before her. These need to be elected. So I will be voting no.
Thanks, Nico. Okay, Sarah, Zoom user. Go ahead.
I'm also going to fully agree. These need to all three be elected positions. Extremely important. I don't know who in Venice could even frickin' hold a candle to what Erica does in this community. I am out there, event after event after event. I see Erica as much in Venice as I see Sean Silva everywhere. And I think it's a really important thing. I think communications is really important. And if you know me, you know that Lupac is top of my list up there with homeless issues. So it's important that the people of Venice elect these positions. And one person who we've had many experiences in the past of maniacal VNC presidents, and I don't think we should be giving the power over. So that's it. Nope. No to the no, 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 no.
Am I maniacal? Oh my.
No, not you.
Previous.
Oh. Okay. Thank you.
Previous.
Sorry, I'm teasing. Thank you so much, Sarah. I would like to, Erica, do you have your hand up, Erica?
I do.
Go ahead. It's just a different color in mine, and I felt like having received the
I'm not a brown
props.
person, but I have a brown hand and I'm down with it.
There you go.
Yeah, okay.
Having received the props, I
that was
felt like you should go next.
Okay, thanks. And thank you, Sarah, for those kind words. I never feel like I could do enough as the outreach chair. It's a really gnarly job, and there's never enough outreach, in my opinion, and that's why the bylaws actually say that every board member is responsible for outreach, because it really takes a village. Anyways, I do want to say this. I absolutely believe the people need to choose those three positions. Lupic has very serious qualifications that are needed for that position. Not just anybody can step into that role and do it effectively. It's just not possible. And the same with communications. Not everybody knows how to use technology. Not everybody is versed on how to use social media. And for outreach, it's the same. We need people that are willing to go out in the community and really engage with people on all different levels, in person, working with the communications chair to get things out, and then also, being creative. And I think to have one person, the president or any person on the board, have authority to make appointments that are like that, I think is a really huge mistake, because it is something where there can be bias, even if it's not intended. And I really believe the people are always complaining they don't have enough votes, that they don't get to vote for enough people on the board. Why in the world would we take away 3 votes? I don't agree that an at-large position is the same weight as these positions are, because of the kind of workload that's attached to these positions. So I absolutely would vote no on this. And I encourage everyone else to vote no as well. Thank you.
Lisa, why don't you go ahead, and then I see Gary, Mark, and Helen and Allie. Go ahead. And if you could turn your camera on, I know I'm hawking you about it, but if you can, it's fine. It's fine. Go ahead.
Let's be equitable. And thank you for interrupting me again. I've lost my thought train now.
Okay. Do you want me to come back, or do you want a second?
Please come back.
Okay, will do. Okay. I think, who did we have next? Gary, go ahead.
Okay. It's funny. I originally thought this was a good idea. The more I hear about it, I think what really I would like the Rules and Elections Committee to consider is better definition to these roles. I agree that I think they probably should be voted for. I think what's happened is a lot of drift, and that's what really needs to be addressed here. So I am going to vote no, but I'm also going to ask Rules and Elections to reconsider the definitions and bring those back. And then one other thing that I just want to say, kind of to everyone, stop beating a dead horse. It's not fair to keep harping on things that are over. David is our president. Erica is our outreach person. That's who we're currently talking about, and we should move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Okay. Why don't we go to I'm sorry, Mark, Allie, Helen, and then we'll come back to Lisa. Go ahead, Mark.
Yes, I would like to have fewer board members and have elections for those positions or chairs. I don't know how to do that. Maybe that goes into another question, but either reduce the at large or, but anyway, I would be for the selection, not the appointment, for election, not appointment.
Thank you so much, Mark. Lisa, are you ready or shall I keep
I'm ready.
going? Okay, go ahead.
Again, I'm going to harp that we haven't done outreach, and we were given an extra month, but I also want to point out we weren't special. All 99 neighborhoods councils in the city got an extra month and to deal with this, and we could have reached out. But of the few people that are here, I think we have to listen again to our stakeholders. As a board, everybody loves to say, well, we're here for the stakeholders, but then oftentimes the board chooses what they personally think is best and not listen to the stakeholders, what the stakeholders want. And as the lowest rung on the elected scale, we are the most in contact with our stakeholders, and we should be truly representing our stakeholders. And of the few stakeholders that are here, they have been voting for wanting representation. They don't want to limit the size of the council. And they're not agreeing with anything that the Rules and Elections Committee put forth. So I'm going to encourage, again, a no vote, that we listen to our stakeholders because we are here for the stakeholders. That's
Okay.
all.
Helen, go ahead. And then, I'm sorry, Allie, I keep skipping over you,
I
but
don't care. It's fine.
okay, let's go. Helen, Allie, and Kenya, I see you as well.
Okay. I just want to point out that the Rules Committee itself actually voted to have the LUPEC chair be elected by the stakeholders, but somehow or another between that vote at their first meeting and what was presented to the board, that just sort of disappeared because I think the goal was to have 13 and reduce the size to 13, and that's the emphasis. I do not support the appointment of those important chairs by the president. I agree with the other comments that have been made. It's too easy to be, we need qualified people who are willing to do that work. And I do support reducing the council, perhaps by one or two. Well, probably it'd have to be two, so you have an odd number. But I don't support reducing it to 13. It's an unworkable number for the amount of committees that we have. You just aren't going to have enough people to be board members who are running committees, and you've got to have board members on committees. They're the ones that take the training, that know what the rules are supposed to be. So I will be voting no on this, and I am very disappointed that what we got submitted to us does not reflect even what the committee actually voted on. So my vote will be no.
Okay. Kenya, why don't you go ahead? Oh, you know what?
Oh, if I have another second, I want to point
Yes.
out that suggestions that we might consider reducing the committee and sending something back to rules are not going to happen. There's not enough time. The work wasn't done. It's too late to do it. We can't keep changing things because what has to happen is it has to be submitted. Something has to be submitted or nothing has to be submitted if we don't make any changes. But that's not even an option. It's not a viable option.
Okay. Go ahead, Allie, and then Kenya. I'm sorry, Kenya. I saw you late, but we'll get to you. Go ahead.
I know we're probably all agreeing, but I think it's really important that it's said that, it's not only how important the qualifications. I mean, I'm the one who lives across the alley from Mark Mack and talked him into running for LUPEC, but it's because, we need expertise on the council. We just do in those positions. But more than that, I also was on a council where there was bias. And I'm not going back to the past, Gary, but it's like, I am only to say that it really can get really tricky when we have a president that has a bias and a board that does. It gets really hard to represent the stakeholders when that kind of thing happens, and we had to constantly fight for democracy on a board that had a bias, and LUPEC was one of the areas in that, and I was on that board, and so I think it's extremely important that they're elected by the people.
Thanks, Allie.
That's all.
We'll go to Kenya.
Hi, yes, I just wanted to weigh in on this. I definitely especially in a time that we're living in where it seems that no one has a voice outside of the executive branch. We definitely need to keep these positions for expertise as well as willingness to do the job for a vote. I would also like to weigh in on what Gary mentioned, that rules and elections do need to further describe what these uh, positions entail and exactly what is expected, because I think that that would help us to not have so much problems in terms of carrying out the task to, list it and have it in plain sight. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kenya. I believe everybody has had a chance. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just see Ted coming in. Go ahead, Ted.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to add a clarification and my own input before we go to a vote. Unfortunately, the way that the committee was approaching this was, sort of out as a whole. Of course, it's not our intention to reduce or de-emphasize outreach. In fact, that was the idea behind, being able to have, 4 district representatives who have the duty to hold those 16 town councils, is that, we would have, all these people who that's their one purpose is to, go out and, bring people who, live in their corner of Venice, together to be able to connect them about what the VNC is doing and what they want to do, and to say that, hey, that role of outreach director is too much for one person. We're splitting it into 4 people, who each can take a smaller chunk of it. But with that piece of it gone, that's a bit of a moot point here. And for that reason, I actually agree with both Helen and Mark. Where I think that we could maybe have less controversial gains, or I guess say reductions in the board size, would be from the 13 at-large members, that we have, to be able to cut those down, by a few, and be able to give every voter the chance to vote on each at-large member instead of just getting one vote for many at-large members.
Thanks so much, Ted. Okay.
Mr. President, Yolanda.
Yes. Oh, Yolanda, I'm sorry. You didn't have your right. You can't raise your hand. Thank
I
you.
can't raise my
Just
hand.
if you can, yeah. Go ahead. I'm so sorry. I
Yes,
don't mean to overlook you. I
I
just
would
don't see
like
it.
to express something. Most of us, the canals has something very interesting going on for quite a while, and that's get to know your neighbor. And in the past, we have gotten to know our neighbors. But now, I just want to clarify something. Those of us that bought properties in Venice was not because of the gang injunctions. That was Gloria Molina's initiative because of the killings that were going on among the gang members. And that's the resentment that these people have. Number 2, the West is governed differently and the East is governed differently, because we are governed by the Coastal Commission, and now we are governed by financial and different kinds of insurance policies. After 23 years that I have owned my property, all of a sudden I get slammed with a flood insurance of almost $8,000 a year. And basically what we need, and I am going to agree with Ted in this, and Mark, if we're going to get people on the boards, people have to have some knowledge and they have to attend the Congress. The Congresses that we have are really very good if you want to be on the board. It's not an easy job. It's very, very time consuming. It's time consuming towards your family. It's time consuming to even other aspects. But those of us that have been involved with issues, not only between Venice, but also what's happening with our county, we have all been there. And I want to see if we're having a hard time, not only ourselves, but other neighborhood councils, getting people to get on the neighborhood councils, because the population has changed also throughout the city. So let's take a look at that. And we're facing very, very, very complicated issues. But if we do not change a little bit, we can always go back.
Thanks, Yolanda.
That's all I want to say.
Okay. At this point, I'm gonna close board comment, and the reason is it is unbelievably clear, I think, to everyone that there is no universe in which there's 14 votes for change. So I think we can use our time well, and we have a lot more to discuss. And so unless there's a real objection, I think we all know how this is gonna go. And what I would like to do is put question one on the floor. That is, do we want to further reduce the number of board members by allowing the appointment of one or more of the chairs? That will require a second, and as I said, that would require 14 votes to pass. If the answer is no, we simply move on to the next issue.
I'll second it.
Stays the way. Okay, we have a second.
Who second?
Ally?
Thanks,
That's
Ally.
Al. Okay. If we can go ahead and do that, Tima, that
Ready
would
to
be
go.
perfect. Thank you
Gary?
so much.
No.
I vote no. Helen?
No.
Mark?
No.
Soraya?
No.
Erica?
Absolutely no.
Ally?
No.
Brennan?
No.
Jason?
No.
Jim?
No.
Kenya?
No.
Lisa?
Lisa.
It said no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nico?
No.
Richard?
No.
Sarah?
Never. Nope. Nope. Nope.
Ted?
Yes.
Yolanda?
Yes.
Fran?
No.
And David abstain. Motion does not carry.
Okay. Thank you all. And again, thank you all for your thoughtful comments. We're going to move to issue 3. Now, issue 3 involves the administrative committee, and essentially the abolition of the wait, hold on. Oh, I'm sorry. It's both the administrative committee. It's two things because it's one, one article of the bylaws. So we're going to discuss 2 questions. Those questions are independent. Because this is, again, we're doing it by issue, please address your comments to both questions. These questions are independent. So you can say yes, no, they're not dependent. In other words, it's not like the last ones where if we go no, we just moving on. The 2 proposals, which are independent, is do we want to eliminate the administrative committee? Do we want to eliminate AdCom and allow the president to set the agenda subject to stakeholder mandated inclusions? If yes, then the red line changes proposed by the Rules Committee, which eliminate AdCom, will be deemed accepted. And then that's its own thing. Question 2 is, do we want to reduce the number of signatures necessary for stakeholders to mandate board consideration from 60 to 50? If yes, then again, we would adopt the red line changes in the Rules Committee that address solely the number of stakeholders, striking out 60 and replacing it with 50. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Terrific. Okay, then once again, we're going to move to public comment. Again, I'm going to mention that public comment on issue 3 should address both question 1 and question 2. And with that, Robin Mures, I see you.
So I would not eliminate the administrative committee because as we see every month, there are a number of questions that arise that are not just mandated black and white. And I think, as Robin Rudisil said, democracy is important, and having multiple voices is very helpful in arriving at the best resolution as to what the agenda should be. On the second question, sure, reduce it to 50. I think if you have 50 people who bring forth a petition, that's a significant showing of stakeholders. 60 is, ever more, but that one I can't say I have a strong feeling about. Perhaps other people have more insights. But the first one, I think, is mostly important that you continue to have the administrative committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Lydia, I see you.
Yeah, thank you, David. Number one, do not get rid of AdCom. A lot of things get flushed there, and people who are undecided or not certain get to hear both sides and all sides. And I think that that is probably the better part of any kind of democracy delivered. And number two, I think that yes, reduce it to 50. However, I in the near future, I'd like to see something about enforcing this particular consideration of an issue, because the pagodas got overruled and vetoed by CD11, and they're doing whatever they want. And Greta and everyone is greatly disappointed, but it ain't over. So yes, no to one and yes to number two.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you as always. Sorry, it's Ian 521. Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Can
can.
you hear me? Okay. So no and no. AdCom serves an important function. There's an amazing amount of nonsense that gets brought by individual members, and you never know who the president's going to be. And while I think this current president has the potential to be very reasonable, and I don't have any problems with him, I don't know that he's going to be the president forever. So that could become a serious problem. For instance, there were a number of frivolous and really unconscionable, probably deserving of censure, complaints brought against people for wearing a piece of clothing or other ridiculous contrivances. I don't even understand how they got to the AdCom, but they did. At least they were struck down there. So we can't do that. And then 60 is you know, that's not a huge number. If you organize in the community, you can get 60 signatures. That's not that hard. So why are we dropping the number? Thank you.
Okay. Thanks so much. Succinct, I appreciate it. Rob, go ahead.
The way it's written here is kind of confusing for me. For somebody that has no clue what this stuff is, should be more clearly defined. I find that kind of typical with a lot of your agendas. They leave out a lot of pertinent information, and so people really have no clue what you're voting on. Definitely no on question one. I mean, what do we want to do? Give the president like dictatorship to decide what can be put on the agenda or not? I mean, how did somebody come up with this idea? It's scary in the first place. I don't really know about the AdCom committee. I mean, I don't know how many people sit on it, but I guess it's more fair than having one person decide for all of us what can be on the agenda. Question two, I don't even know what that is. What mandate board consideration of an issue? What does that mean? Like I have to go get 60 signatures to put something on the agenda item? I don't.
So the
Not
way
even clearly defined.
Okay, it's just, let me try to answer your question. It is currently defined in the bylaws that there's a way to essentially bypass the administrative committee and get something directly on the main agenda. That requires a petition with 60 stakeholder signatures. That's been used in multiple occasions in the past, and that already exists in the bylaws. The only question was whether that should be reduced. This is just to be clear, this is not a new thing. The only question is whether the rules committee suggested, these are all, again, these are suggestions from the rules committee, the rules and elections committee that we are discussing.
Then it should say to put it on the agenda, so that
Mandate
to
board,
bypass the AdCom committee should say that right there.
mandate board consideration. What that means is require that the board consider something. So that means it goes on the agenda. I'm just trying to explain. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
I think you should add in that the agenda to put something on the agenda.
Okay. All right.
Point
Thanks
of
so
order, David.
Yes, Helen.
Yeah. I think if you had the red line version up or the actual wording, that would have answered this gentleman's question, because
I think
you don't have
okay.
Because you don't have the actual wording up and it's sort of out of context. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Because there are other
We have it.
things that they eliminated in there.
These are the
So-
only things, these are the only things we're discussing.
So are you confirming then that anything else that is not discussed
Yes.
is not going to be
Ellen,
included?
I've told you that repeatedly, and I will
Well,
say
it's not clear because you keep
Okay,
talking
the
about this
only
committee
things-
that's doing a red line. So
the only things, I mean, maybe that there are no changes, which makes this very, very easy. The
well,
only
it would be.
things that would
Yeah.
change, the only things that are changing, the only things that could change are things that we are clearly discussing and voting on. Okay, there's not going to be anything else. That is it.
So language that was eliminated in the same paragraph about the 50 versus 60 is not going, it's not being considered, so it's not
Correct.
going to be
The
addressed.
only
Okay.
things, the
Okay.
only things, again, everyone, nobody's making any changes that aren't discussed and voted on. Everything that's going to be, everything, the only reason, by the way, Helen, for the committee was if this got complicated and there was a bunch of stuff, we would need to produce a full, easy red line. That was always going to go back to the board for ratification by everybody. So there's nothing sneaky here. Okay.
Well, I think if you pulled up the red line, his question would have been answered. He wouldn't even asked
Helen,
it.
I understand. What we're going to do
Point of
now,
information.
I see Robin.
Can I finish my comment?
Say again?
Can I finish my public comment?
Yes, you can finish your public comment, and then I see Robin Rudisell. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just, today is like an important day to me. I lost my baby brother about 10 years ago. It's his birthday. And it's just like, I have a life to live. And I just see all this stuff. We have 4 meetings in a row in a week. And there's just like all this stuff going on. And this is like a very serious issue. Is this going to be happening like every month? Somebody's going to put something like this forward? I mean, I think, you need to reduce it maybe to a year. And there needs to be more scrutiny on this before you present this. This is scary stuff where you just want to all of a sudden change everything. And I feel like it's clearly giving all this power to one person. And so like, man, let people like enjoy their lives and not like try to like streamline stuff like this and steamroll it through. Thank you.
Point of information.
Yes, Gary.
Okay, 2 things. One, I just want to point out that generally public comment isn't it only supposed to be a one-way communication, not responded at that moment? And second, is it also not true that anything we vote on to change the bylaws is being done now, but it takes the city a long time, and most of the things we vote on, is it not true that they really take effect for the next voted in council?
Right.
That is all correct. We are okay. Before we have a whole argument about process and go off the rails, I will just say this does require any bylaws changes have to be submitted to the city, to the board of neighborhood. Excuse me.
To the bonk.
To bonk.
Or
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Commissioners, thank you. So yes, and they then have the ability to accept or reject the proposals that we put forward. I want to finish public comment and then I want to move to board discussion. Robin,
Of information against what Gary said. It won't be the next term. It'll be like in August. It's not instantaneous, but it will be in a few months.
Okay. Robin Rudisell, I'd like to recognize you for public comment.
Thank you. First, I want to say I'd like to align myself with Ian's comments. And as annoying and hard as AdCom can be, this is a large and complex neighborhood council. It's difficult to manage these agendas. And AdCom is an important working meeting. Honestly, it's just too much for the president to manage. There may be ways to improve the way the committee works. I don't have any to offer tonight, but maybe that could be worked on and done via the standing rules. So I recommend you keep it. And then on the 50 or 60 signatures, honestly, I'd change it to 25. I'd lower it. So I'd say just, I'd say 50, frankly. Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. All right. Let's move on. Let's move on to board discussion. Again, this will be both question 1 and question 2, since they are together in the issue. And I will just, point out that if it might be worth being cognizant of whether or not there is support for any of this. As you know, I have no position on any of this. But again, because these are bylaws, it would require 14 votes. Go ahead. I see you, Helen. And then Erica, and then Lisa.
Okay,
And then,
I just want to say, and no one's brought this up yet, the eliminating AdCom wasn't exactly well thought out because there's no provision for an executive committee like other boards have. You have to have some group at some point discussing administrative issues and how things function. You can't just have that in the hands of the president. So this desire to turn the scheduling over, they didn't bother to look at, well, then if that person's doing scheduling of the board meeting, what about other things that come up? How are you going to be discussing those things? People have, executive finance committees or an exec committee made of the executive officers. For clarification purposes, David, we apparently have decided we're not making any structural changes to our at least it doesn't appear we are.
that is correct.
So it doesn't go to bonk, it goes to done. They're the ones that will look it
right.
over.
Thank
And as for 50 or 60, who cares one way or the other? I'd say why bother? Because then you don't have to be bothered dealing with the red line, and it's a waste of time. And I happen to agree with Robin Rodesil. It would be probably more and better if it was even less. But apparently, having more than 80 signatures on a petition didn't make any difference or persuade anybody that the petition from the stakeholders tonight was, needed to be considered. So I don't think we pay much attention to that. And that's all I've got to say.
Thank you. Erica, go ahead. And then Nico, I see you.
Okay, me and my dogs
And
strongly
Lisa.
support to keep AdCom. It's really important because it's, again, neighborhood councils are not something, I don't know, someone else is talking and not muted. Maybe you could please mute whoever that was. Neighborhood councils, let's remember the spirit of what a neighborhood council is. None of us on this board have more power than each other. We are all equal and on equal footing for a reason. And I think it's really important that AdCom exists for that equal footing of assessment for things that come forward to the board. There's been this false assumption and belief that the president can just set whatever they want. And that's really not true. If you go through and you read what it says in the Empower information and bonk information, it does not say that. So it doesn't matter if we write a bylaw that says that, because their rules trump anything we do in a bylaw or a standing rule. So I think it's really important that we keep that committee. I think it's important that stakeholders, if they want to bring forward an issue to the board, I think that them having some signatures is a good idea. Does it need to be 60? Maybe not. 50 could be good, or maybe even less. So I flex on that one and saying that it could be changed or not. That would depend. So I'm in strong favor of keeping AdCom. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Lisa, why don't you go ahead, and then Nico, I see you, and Mark.
Yeah, I'm gonna save time because pretty much Helen and Erica said everything I was gonna say. It's just really important for checks and balances. And we've had a lot of stakeholders that continuously come to AdCom meetings. If anything, it's too bad that we didn't take the advantage of the bylaws period to make more structure to the AdCom committee instead of just thinking, let's eliminate it, because consistently president after president after president, we seemingly have changes made after the AdCom committee before the board agenda. Sometimes things change over the weekend. But I'm all in favor of lowering the stakeholder threshold. Mar Vista only requires 10. But as Helen said, too bad the board doesn't pay attention to what stakeholders really want and desire and decide what they think is better for themselves. But anyway, we need to let stakeholders feel like they're important and have a voice.
Mark, and then Nico. Sorry, Nico. Go ahead, Mark.
Yes, David, could you just for informational sake explain who is on the AdCom committee? How is it composed?
Sure.
And are these meetings so open to the public? And
Yes.
are they
Yes, they're Brown Act compliant. The administrative committee is comprised of the four executive folks and I believe four members. Helen, feel free to correct me if I get this not quite right, but it is four members who are voted to the AdCom committee by the at-large delegates. Okay? And
Okay.
yes, they are Brown Act publicly available Brown Act compliant meetings.
Yeah, I mean, my comment is just keep the keep a committee AdCom. How it is composed, that would be another question. And yes, I don't mind 50. If you get a lot of interest, 50 or 60, it doesn't make a big difference. Thank you.
All right, Nico, and then I see Ali and I know Soraya as well. So go ahead, Nico.
Sure. I'm going to address the second question first, just because it's, I'm indifferent. I don't see much difference between 50 or 60, but I'll vote yes, 50. I think we should be making it easier for stakeholders to put motions forward. So I'll be voting yes on that. As far as AdCom, I think AdCom serves a very important purpose. I think the bigger issue that really hasn't been addressed is how AdCom should be run and really defining what its function should be, because we've had a lot of problems where motions don't make it onto the agenda that should, because of people voting based on merits. We should not be discussing merits. We should not be voting on merits in AdCom, and I think that really needs to be made extremely clear. It's not up to AdCom to decide whether they like a motion or not. Just was it submitted properly? Has it gone through the proper channels? Should it be sent to a committee ahead of time? Really, it's just routing. And I think that, I would say I think that AdCom should have some input as to the order of the agenda too. I think that the president should have discretion to make changes, but I think we should be voting on an agenda with its order. And then, I think the president has discretion to make changes if needed based on whatever. So I think it's kind of a hybrid between those. I'm probably over my time, but those are my feelings.
Yeah. Thanks. Who did I say next? I think I see Ali, Soraya, Gary. Ali, go ahead.
Yeah, I am a mute. Just having been on AdCom in a different iteration or whatever with another board president, that it was incredible. I was on with Jason Sugars. It was very important when there is a bias, when there is an agenda, and stakeholders feel it, from a president. I think it's a very important committee to keep things regulated and in order. So I just wanted to say that. I mean, it's a little bit different with the president that we all might get along with, but the thing always is democracy. I mean, if you never know who that, as we know now, you never know
Who are you
who the
referring to, Ali?
So, it's an important committee. I think it's very important. I was happy to be on it.
All right, terrific. Thanks. Gary, go ahead. And then Soraya.
I'm going to say this as someone who does sit on AdCom and sits on as one of the executive members. Yeah, I think it's really important. I think all of our committees that we have are important because what they do is they offer an opportunity for a little bit freer speech, a little less protocol, a little less Robert's rules, and really understanding where the community sits with things, and then each of the board members or committee members for this committee and other committees also are bringing the representation of all over Venice. I think it's important that we have that. I think it's also important that I guess this is a question as much as a statement to maybe David or someone, is do we have the opportunity to address AdCom and not the executive members, but the elected members by at large to not be blocked at that committee level when it involves the board making decisions? That's the biggest issue that I think we need to readdress. And I think we need to readdress before the next meeting, so rules and elections, some of these definitions. To Helen's point, I do think we have time. We have time to have a meeting with rules and elections to address further definition for certain roles. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Gary. Obviously, what rules and elections does is up to rules and elections. If they get if they get stuff, if they get new proposals ready for the next meeting, we still have a slim margin. It's April 21st, so we'll still have a slim margin. I leave that entirely to them. What we entertain are the proposals that rules and elections brings to us. And again, this is so that's the short answer to your question. That window's open till the 1st of May. I'm entirely happy to entertain whatever goes through the process and comes to us. Okay, I believe Soraya had also wanted to speak on this,
Yeah,
so I'd like to recognize her.
thank you. My impression of AdCom, well, first, I want to start with the fact that in nearly every professional environment I've been in, to have a meeting to discuss what a meeting is about has largely been felt like, is this the best use of everyone's time? I think one of the reasons that people feel really strongly about AdCom is the result of compromised trust in how things get to be on the board agenda. And when people don't have trust that either A, the chair is operating and acting in a unbiased manner, and knowing that items might get booted off the agenda for reasons that aren't clear, that compromises trust. And B, when we were operating in a situation where where not everything on an agenda item would get discussed, or on an agenda would get discussed, it compromises credibility. So I think my pitch, and I admire everyone on AdCom who spends the time to review everything, but in an effort to save time, I think it might be better if we focused on really making the rules around what constitutes something making the agenda versus not, which is what question 2 gets at, is if a stakeholder can wrangle 60 signatures or 50 signatures, you've proven that there's community interest and it should be on the agenda. And having a clear set of guidelines around if a motion has come through committee, it should be on the agenda. I think that to me is a better use of our time than continuing to put so much weight on a administrative meeting.
Terrific. Thanks so much. Okay, I think we're going to conclude board comment at this point and move on to the consideration of both question 1 and question 2. Is anybody in any way confused about this? I don't feel particularly the need to restate this. These seem pretty straightforward. So I'd like to put on the floor issue 3, question 1. Do we want to eliminate the AdCom, which would allow the president to set the agenda?
I'll second it.
Thank you so much.
Who was
And
that?
Ally?
That's
Okay.
Ally Bean. And Tima, if you could go ahead and call the roll, I'd appreciate it.
Give me one moment.
So just to be clear, do we want to eliminate?
That's
the
correct.
question.
Sorry. No. That's right. A yes vote would be the elimination. Thank you, Ally.
Okay.
Sorry. A yes vote would be the elimination of the administrative committee. A no vote is it stays.
Thank you.
Gary,
No.
I vote no. Helen,
We're voting to, I'm sorry, I lost the
A
thread here.
yes vote is to eliminate.
Okay, no. Thank you.
Mark,
No.
Soraya,
Yes.
excuse me, Erica,
No, and Saria, can you promote my cell phone? Because I need to walk my dogs right now.
Ally,
Thank you.
No.
Brennan,
No.
Jason,
No.
Jim,
Yes.
jo Kenya,
Yes.
Lisa,
No.
Nico,
No.
Richard,
No.
Sarah,
No.
Ted,
Yes.
Yolanda,
Yes.
Fran,
No.
David abstains. Motion, the
Pretty
AdCom remains.
Yes, that motion fails. Let's move immediately to the consideration of question 2, which is, do we want to reduce the number of signatures for stakeholders to mandate board consideration from 60 to 50?
So a
again,
yes vote is we want to make it 50.
correct. A yes vote is 50, a no vote is it stays at 60.
Okay.
Everyone clear?
Yep.
Go ahead, Tima, if you would.
A yes vote makes it 50. That's correct. Sorry, I was right.
That is correct. A yes reduces it from
Got it, to
60 to 50. A no is remaining at 60.
Gary,
Yes.
I vote yes. Helen,
I vote no.
Mark,
Yes.
Soraya,
Yes.
Erica. You can come back to her. She's walking the dogs. Allie?
Oh,
No.
yes.
No.
I'm a
Okay.
yes. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I got it. Allie?
No.
Brennan?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Jim?
No.
Kenya?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Nico?
Yes.
Richard?
No.
Sarah?
Yes.
Ted?
No.
Yolanda?
No.
Fran?
Yes.
Give me a moment.
12-6.
12-6. 12-6. So David
Also
abstained and
fails. I
motion fails.
abstain. The motion fails. Moving on to issue 4. I will note that if there is no change, oh wait, they're the non-substantive.
No, they're not non-substantive.
Issue 4 is the Rules Committee proposal would make the Vice President responsible for ensuring regularly scheduled committee meetings do not conflict, but eliminate the Vice President's responsibility for overseeing committees. So the sole question here is, shall the role of the Vice President be limited to ensuring regularly scheduled committee meetings do not conflict? If yes, the Rules Committee's amendment to Article 6(2)B, as shown in the red line, is adopted. If not, then there's no change.
Point of information.
Yeah, I have
Sure.
one too.
Sure. Go ahead.
It's not that that's the sole responsibility. The sole responsibility described in the bylaws, but there's still responsibilities described under the president and under Robert's rules.
Yes, sorry. Sorry, say that again, Ted. Be limited. Yes,
That
this
definition
does
from the
not.
bylaws is
No, that's
It
right.
doesn't mean that the vice president doesn't have all the same responsibilities as the vice
Under
president has
Robert's
always had.
rules, that's correct. This would solely change. I think it strikes out.
And also what the bylaws description under the president, where the president has can delegate to the vice president,
Right,
which is described in our bylaws.
Yeah, I think it literally, so it literally strikes out that one sentence.
Can I have a point of information?
Sure.
I think is the right word. I have a question.
Yes, Sally.
Why I don't understand why this came up.
It
Why
was part of the Rules
the
Committee
vice president
package.
should or should not be involved with the committees. I don't know better or what, what's the good or what's the bad of this. I don't understand it.
I'm certainly not taking any position. This was part of the rules package that was adopted through the Rules Committee and forwarded. So to be clear, maybe this will help. The Rules Committee proposed a number of changes to a number of articles. The petitioners really only proposed a small number of changes to articles which really involved representation. Does that make sense? So it wasn't an apples to apples comparison, which is why we're doing this, because no matter what happened with the petitioners' stuff, there were still things that the Rules Committee wanted that the petitioners had no position on. This was one of those. Does that make sense?
But what was their reasoning for wanting to change the vice president to not be involved with committees? I just wanted to know why. Or why not, why yes or why no? I don't have an opinion.
I feel like that's something maybe Ted can answer in board comment, and I think it's a reasonable question. But before we get to that, I'm sorry, we do need to take public comment.
I just thought maybe the public would like to know that too. Like, why are we discussing this? I think they need to know why it's up.
I have no better answer. Fine. Do you know what? I think little unusual. Ted, do you want to just take a minute and talk about the rationale from the committee, or do you want me to ask Liz to do that?
Can he just read what exactly it's going to say if you voted yes on this?
Sure. Soraya, do you have a copy of the?
Sorry,
We
if
should hear
the
the
invitation
rationale.
still stands for me to
Yeah,
type
it
up,
does, Ted.
I
Go
will.
ahead. You're the best. I feel like you're the best person for this.
The only idea here was to move some of the structure of the bylaws out of the bylaws to where there's more flexibility in how the board, the president, the executive officers manage themselves. To be able to say that, it's important because we have a legal obligation under city and state law to make sure these meetings, can be attended by everyone, that they don't overlap. So that is a structural duty that we need in the bylaws, that there's someone responsible to make sure that these meetings aren't being double booked. But that in terms of, being the police supervisor, the overseer of the other committees, that this is something that the president and the executive, committee, could have more flexibility to decide how they're going to do together, based off of, the electorate who elects them, who puts them there. That it doesn't need to be a bylaw defined responsibility of the president to be the manager or overseer of all the other committees.
You mean the vice president?
Sorry, yeah, the vice president.
Could you read
just to make
exactly
it
what it
more
would say versus what it
more
wouldn't say, so we can see what the exact difference is?
Yeah, let me see. Soraya, do you have the bylaw? Let me see if I can find it quickly. This is
Yeah, it would be in the last meeting's supporting documents, right? 'Cause I can try to.
It's
yeah.
page 16.
Yep, thank
Page
you.
16 of the red line. And if you could read what it currently says and then what they want it to say, that would be appreciated.
Yeah. I don't have the red line, but I'm pretty sure I know what it is. So section 2, duties and powers, subdivision B, vice president has 2 bullet points. One is assumes the duty of the president when the president is unavailable and performs other duties as delegated by the president. And bullet point 2 is maintains oversight of standing and ad hoc committees to ensure compliance with Brown Act, Dunn, and Bonk policies, bylaws, and standing rules. Ted, am I correct that it simply strikes out bullet point 2?
That's right. Strikes out bullet point
That's my
2 and
recollection.
then reduces that to just making sure that there's no
Soraya,
collisions in meetings, that one meeting at a time.
Oh, here we go. Soraya, there you go. Perfect.
And otherwise, it's the duties as delegated by the president.
So basically, you're taking away all of the description in the bylaws of what the vice president does and replacing it with that one line that they're just supposed to make sure there's not conflicting meetings.
So, yeah, you're currently looking at the red line, everyone. It adds the words ensures regularly scheduled committee meetings are not held simultaneously and eliminates the words maintains oversight of standing and ad hoc committees to ensure compliance with Brown Act, Dunn, Bonk policies, bylaws, and standing rules.
And why do they want to take that out? That's what I don't understand.
Exactly.
I'm just curious what the motivation,
that's the job of the vice president.
At some point, I'm happy to let Ted respond, but at some point, this is what the rules committee passed, and I guess their
right. But I'm just, I think a reason would be nice for the public and for me. I don't get it.
Just to move this into the president's court, that this is the president can
oversees
decide
everything instead. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the president oversees all
That
this,
gives them
and if the
more
president wants to
authority and more
delegate
power.
this to the vice president, that's fine, but they're not forced to do it that way. So, for instance, maybe you have a situation where the president and the vice president are at loggerheads. Does that now mean that the president is can be blocked by the vice president in regulating committees?
Yes.
No, they're going to have to work it out.
It does.
So they're going to have to work it out
information.
one way or another.
Point of information, and I think it really has to go to someone who's been on the board for a long time. these rules, I'll have a point in when we get to the board. But does anyone here know where this bylaw originated from? Because what I do
Yes.
know is this last year there was an issue with the vice president, and the current vice president has been credited with sort of bringing some order back. I'd just like to know some history here.
It's because there used to be neighborhood committees, and the vice president was in charge of the neighborhood committees. There aren't any neighborhood committees anymore.
Point of clarification.
Hey, guys, I feel like we're going a little far afield. We have, Soraya, do we have the timer going? I really do want to try to keep
David,
this.
I just think it needs context. I think
I understand. I'm not trying to squelch context. I think what you have here, I think you're all looking at the red line. I think it's clear. I'm happy. I think Ted has had an opportunity to explain
That's
his
open public comment.
thinking, and I think we should get some public comment, and then this is more properly for board discussion, which is fine, and which I absolutely intend to do. But Robin Mures wants to speak at least, so let's give the public an opportunity to speak. Go ahead, Robin.
Yeah, I think that this is completely wrong. That the part that has been that third point, maintaining oversight of the standing and ad hoc committees to ensure compliance with the Brown Act, that's essential. And it's not being done because there hasn't been a vice president who knows how to teach incoming chairs of committees, like how to post their agendas, how to develop agendas, how to construct minutes. That used to be what was done should have been done by the vice president. And would be really great if that could be done again. If there was a vice president in the role who knew how to do these things and could give really simple instruction, it would help all committees. They would help the neighborhood council to function much more effectively. And the part about scheduling meetings is only one aspect of it. It's posting them, it's agendas, it's minutes, it's all of it.
Okay, thanks so much. Seeing no other public comment, I would like to open this up to board comment. This now is the place. Again, I want to remind everyone that board comment's supposed to be an expression of your own opinions, not a ton of crosstalk. We do have the opportunity to cede your time to somebody else if you have a question for them. That's appropriate if they want to answer it. But I've been very, very lax tonight because these are very complicated, and I really wanted to give everything as much air as possible. But I do want to just remind you of that. Sarah, I see you, and Lisa, and then Nico, and we'll go from there. But Sarah, why don't you go ahead and start?
Yeah, I just want to say that, I don't know why we're stripping such important language. I don't know why we've tried to rush through something that the previous committee spent so much time working on. And I too echo a lot of comments tonight that I am pretty horrified that they tried to shove this down our throats in some weird grandiose plan. And Venice always prevails. So that's it.
Thanks very much.
Prevails.
Lisa, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, it's pretty much everything that Robin Mures said. And it has nothing to do that at one point the vice president did oversee the neighborhood committee, but it should be more defined to train new chairs, to help them, with their agendas, to help teach them how to upload, make sure that they do everything. Like, hey, did you get your minutes up? Hey, did you get it posted at Beyond Bureau? Those things. So eliminating that, if they're popular enough to be elected across the entire neighborhood council, not just by a small district of their friends and neighbors, then they're important enough to do a significant role. The president already does a lot. They can take on this role and have some work to do instead of just hanging around hoping the president's going to be sick one night so that they could rule a meeting. All they did is eliminate one important job and move up a standing rule that already exists into the bylaws. So by the way, that is a standing rule that the president makes sure that no meetings are double scheduled.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Nico, and then Helen, and then Erica, and then Gary. I'll try to remember that order. Go ahead, Nico.
First question: Are we making amendments at all tonight, or no?
We're really not. We unfortunately, I think that way lies madness. There is, if you want to, if the Rules Committee wants to consider something else and try to get it back to us by the April 21st meeting.
That's fine. So I'll make it quick. I think it's a great idea to have the vice president oversee whether or not there's conflicting meetings. That's been an issue in the past, and I think the president has a lot on his plate. But I don't support getting rid of the other responsibilities. I think I don't think it's a good idea. So unless we can amend it, I'll be voting.
Okay.
No.
Terrific. Helen?
Yeah, I would like to point out that perhaps Ted misspoke. The language that's being eliminated is not in the president's job description. It's just being eliminated. And the references to Brown Act, Dunn, and Bonk policies have been eliminated in other portions of this proposal that came from rules. I find that very upsetting. Someone needs to make sure, just as Lisa pointed out, that the committees are up to date on what needs to be, the committee chairs, many of whom, oftentimes are new. They need the support. And I don't think the president, who has plenty of other things to do, needs to be taking on that additional duty. The vice president is there as a backup for the president, but they need to have specific duties, and supervising the committees is a legit duty that we need to have happen on the board. And the vice president's the logical person. It got rewritten slightly. We tightened it up in the last the last time we amended the bylaws, because it was talked about the committees, but it wasn't really clear what they were supposed to be doing as supervising. Frankly, scheduling committee meetings not held simultaneously, I would like to think that our committee chairs are perfectly capable of looking up on the calendar and seeing if they're going to schedule something that's not a regular meeting, if other people have already scheduled something. I don't even think it's worth delineating that. And so I'll be voting no on this change, because I think it's a waste of time to even insert this thing. That this is more important than ensuring Bonk policies are followed, and that the Brown Act is followed is really a disturbing example of what is contained in this red line version of the bylaws and what was being proposed and eliminated.
Thanks, Helen. Let me go to Mark and then Erica.
Yeah, I'm sort of a little confused, but why can it be both? Like, why does one has to be eliminated versus the other? I mean, it should be ensures that regular committee meetings are not held simultaneous and maintains the standing to ensure the Brown Act. I mean, that could be all one thing.
Sorry, Mark. Are you finished? I'm so sorry. Just to be clear, this is what the committee put forward.
Yeah,
I believe there will be another meeting of rules. Again, we will have one final shot at the April 21st meeting in 2 weeks. If, for example, this becomes an issue that everybody wants to get behind and you want to add that, that's all that's all on the table that way. Erica, I want to recognize you, and then it feels only fitting that our current vice president should get the last word on this. Go ahead, Erica. Erica? I'm not.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you are here. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm back. I'm not on
Gotcha.
the walk anymore.
Okay.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I think it's essential that we leave the wording that exists there, because it is a really important job for the vice president to oversee these committees. I 100% agree with everything that Robin Muris shared. She's correct. We need somebody who is guiding the committees. But unfortunately, if you don't know the rules about how to do that, it's going to be difficult. So we have a lot of stuff that's in disarray right now. There's all kinds of different looking agendas and all kinds of things. And it'd really be nice to get on one page so everything is consistent. And I think that the standing rule that does exist, maybe that's what could be changed. To change a standing rule can be done at any time. It is not it doesn't have a small window like the bylaws. So it's not such an emergency, but this could be changed to say that it's the vice president's job to do it. I think it is important to delineate it because I'm one of those people that noticed how people were booking their meetings at the same time that there was already a meeting or there was a holiday or something. I don't know why people don't look, why chairs or anybody else doesn't look on the calendar before you set your meeting to see what times are available. Where should I slot my meeting? It's so important because you also want to get stakeholders to come. So you can do them right after another meeting or before another meeting, but to lap them over is very frustrating. And I see people still doing that now. So I really do hope we will keep it as it is. I'll vote no. And I hope we just adjust the standing rule, which again is not an emergency. Thank you.
Ted, I see you, and then, as I said, I feel it only appropriate to leave Gary for the final word. Go ahead, Ted.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't have very strong feelings about this, but kind of on the idea of that we have to write in the Bonk and Brown Act policies and stuff into our bylaws. These are already laws and regulations written at higher levels of government than where we are. I don't think it's the neighborhood council's job to reiterate and have our own regulatory apparatus to enforce state policies. It just seems to be over defining things to me. But I don't really have very strong feelings about it. It's redundant to me at best. But what I am hearing is that there does seem to be quite a bit of support for leaving that language in addition to adding in the information about the committee schedules. So for that reason, I would be wondering, David, if in this case you'd be willing to make an exception and allow us to amend this so that we have both bullet points under the vice president role and to vote on that tonight.
All right, then we'll have to, I hear all of you. Let me make sure I understand and can make this clear. As I understand it, Ted, the amendment you're suggesting is merely to add language, one bullet point, under subsection B that says ensures that regularly scheduled committee meetings are not held simultaneously. Is that correct?
That's correct. And to undo the removal of language.
Correct. Nothing.
So only
again,
thing that would change would be adding
to
language.
be super clear about this for everyone. Nothing will be deleted. The only change to subdivision B would be the amendment proposes solely the addition of the words ensures that regularly scheduled committee meetings are not held simultaneously. That is,
I second it, yeah.
okay, we have a second for that. Because this is a substantive motion, folks, I'm sorry. The dogs are finally getting restless. Because it's a substantive motion, we do need to open this up to public comment, which I'd like to do now. Is there any public comment concerning the proposed amendment? And again, I want to be really clear. We're making good progress through all of this, and so I did want to try to get this done if we could. Go ahead, Rob. I see you.
I'm still like confused about this whole thing. I mean, how is it done now to make sure the meetings are not held simultaneously? Is that the president's job?
David, can I speak to this for a second without having it count?
Sure, Gary.
No. Go ahead, Rob. Do you want to say one more thing?
It's Scott, you guys. Scott.
I thought it was Scott.
I'm sorry. It says Rob on the screen.
Can you guys stop interrupting Scott and let him finish? I think I'm just going to speak for a second. Just let him finish. I am because this is enough of it. Let him finish.
We don't speak during public comment.
All right, Scott, go ahead,
Guys,
please.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of confused that. I think it is important that, as people have said, that the vice president is familiar with, the Brown Act and the bonk to step in for the president. So I guess I support, then the other thing is like the oversight. So let's see. Yeah, like the vice president be able to step in, and I'm just not really sure, what exactly the vice president does for the scheduled committees. That's it.
Thanks so much. All right, seeing no other public comment, we're going to move to board discussion of the amendment. I'd ask you please to keep, if you can keep these to 30 seconds, that'd be terrific. Sorry. Go ahead. Gary, why don't you?
You know what? There's some, let the other board members go, please. Let's hear what they say first.
Okay. Let's see. Sarah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think this should have just been a no-brainer, that meetings should not be scheduled on top of each other, especially being a board member that attends quite a few committee meetings. It is really important that not only people have sufficient time to get to meetings, but that they can attend every meeting that is of interest to them in the community. Furthermore, there needs to be a gap in between the meetings so people can use the restroom, walk a dog, have a snack. So they're not on Zoom meetings from 5 in the evening until sometimes 11 at night. Not cool. And then lastly, just as a common courtesy, our OG committee chairs, just try to get your meetings scheduled ahead of time. New people, new chairs, check with your chair elders. What dates have they been consistently having their meetings? Don't be a dick. Don't purposely schedule your meeting when you know somebody else already had a previously scheduled meeting just because you can. Be kind. It goes pretty far. But I do think it's important. I think it should be a given, but I think it needs to change. And I think we need to get on top of it because this is a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. And somebody needs to be responsible for it. So let's go. Thank you.
David, you're muted.
God, I'm so sorry. I just said to please keep it to 30 seconds if we possibly can on the amendment. Nico, why don't you go ahead and then we'll go to Helen. I'm not hearing Nico, so why don't we go to Helen and I'll come back to Nico. Go ahead, Helen.
Yeah, Nico, you're muted.
I can support this amendment. However, I do want to point out that I think the second bullet point should be what was there originally, maintains oversight. It's far more comprehensive and important than ensures regularly scheduled committee meetings are not held simultaneously, which really, once you've made a list of who's meeting on regular meetings and get people organized, should not have to be something that you have to deal with constantly. So I think that should be the third point. So when you're organizing the red line, flip it, please.
Thank you. Thanks, Helen. Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, it's as I mentioned, it's already a standing rule, and I would prefer that. It's too bad that the Rules and Elections Committee didn't look at the standing rules, at all standing rules that had been created since the last bylaws change, to see, do we want to move this up to duties or not? Because there's also another thing in the standing rules that talks about the vice president making decisions if there's an interest that falls on two different committees, under which committee it'll fall on. But this one, I would prefer that the whole standing rule language get adopted that says all committees are required to establish a regular periodic meeting date and post on the VNC website. The committee chairs will coordinate with the vice president to ensure there is no overlap between committee meetings. No committee meetings will conflict with an administrative committee or board meetings, and standing committee scheduling takes priority over ad hoc committees.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa. Nico, go ahead.
Thank you for cutting me quickly.
obviously I support this as I'd suggested it. So I will be voting yes on it. And I think it's really important that, I hear what Lisa's saying, that this is a standing rule, but we have had issues with conflicting meetings and meetings scheduled when they shouldn't be. So I think it's important for that responsibility to fall on one person. That's all.
Thanks. Thanks, Nico.
But point of information, I'm assuming since this is an amendment, it just needs a majority vote to pass the amendment.
No. Well, we can do it in two steps, but ultimately it must get 14 votes to amend the bylaws. So rather than do the two-step, my intention was simply to put it to to require 14 votes.
Okay.
Okay, since we're literally not doing the other thing. So that's my intention. I'll explain it further in a moment. But first, Ally, and then I'm sorry, I see Erica. Ally, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to speak on this before it got amended, so I'm going to speak on both things. As somebody, as Gary knows, who heavily, has to lean on the vice president because I'm not really good at computer stuff, and Soraya certainly knows this too. It's really an important job. Bless his heart, I love Jim Raw, but he really didn't know how to help. And poor Brian Averill had to do everything, and it's way too much to put on the president. So I think it's a very important thing that the vice president and Gary was very helpful, doing all this stuff. There's a lot of things that a committee chair has to learn how to do. And if that's not your thing, which it's not my thing, it's really helpful to have somebody that knows knows the rules to help. And, of course, I agree with the planning part. So I agree with the amendment as well. But especially, I agree with Helen, put the other thing first because it's way more important.
Thanks. I see Erica. Why don't you go ahead? Why don't you go ahead, Erica, and then Lisa, your hand is still up, but I assume, but you've already spoken. So, Erica, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I agreed actually a lot with what Lisa was saying. I really think that the verbiage is really important, and I think that I just, want to encourage everybody. It's not that hard to look at the calendar when you are going to schedule your meeting. And I would like to encourage the vice president to do that as well, because in guiding the committees, that's all you need to do is just look every day and see, oh, did somebody put on a meeting? Oh, did they? I better, look at them and see if they posted, did they do things correctly, and, reach out and give them that support, because we really need to clean that up, because it does cause a lot of dissension and a lot of confusion for nothing really, and it wastes a lot of everybody's time. So I really hope that this will get adopted and executed. Well, I don't like that word executed, but will be implemented fully and consistently, and that we have the same information being used for the agendas, for communication with each other, etc., so that everyone gets on the same page. And I'm always available to help if you need. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Erica. All right, for the last word, Gary, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Here's what I'll say. As the only person on this call that's actually held both the president and vice president roles at the same time, what David does is an insane amount of work that he does. I may need more than 30 seconds. Is an insane amount of work that he does with the city, with all of us, trying to understand what's going on in the community. He was thrown into it without any, guidebook. I was thrown into the vice presidency without any guidebook, and I credit Erica for immediately sitting me down and saying, hey, this is all the stuff that the past vice president didn't do, and here's all the things go. Now, certain people are really process oriented. Everyone has a style. My self-style is to do things a little quieter, as Ally kind of just pointed out. Lisa pointed out a little bit. The little things that I've done. Fran, I can go down a list of people who have needed my support regularly. I don't make fan for like some self-styled public artist who puts their face on the front of their house and just so that everyone knows they're an artist. I do things very quietly. I've done that my entire life and career. I think things are running a lot better now. I think what's important is not to look at me, which clearly these comments are about. Look at the job. Look at the job David is doing under fire, and really in 2 months having to learn this. Look at the job that I've done, and look at how the committees are running. A lot of senior, seasoned people from the committee, off the committee, in the community don't see the work that either of us do. You see the public work. You see the work that gets attacked. But I think you need to understand it's a big job that we're all doing for free because we care about Venice. The stuff that's in here is a minimum of what needs to be done. Someone has to deal with bonks. Someone has to say to the president, hey, this stuff's going on. I think we count on each other. If I'm not looking at the calendar, or Dave's not looking at the calendar, or Soraya's not looking at the calendar, we all do I don't put things on the calendar. And Soraya is doing the best she can while also holding a full-time job. I think we really need to understand that everything that we're all doing is for the community and we support each other. I was very blessed to have Erica point out so much of the work. And I think, Erica, you would even acknowledge that was only a part of what we did when we started Zinc. It's a big job that we're all doing. And I think trying to change these things in any way should only be in a way additive to help each other. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Okay, with that, we're going to proceed to vote on the amendment here, the amended question. I think it's kind of not really, it's kind of not really a question anymore. It is now a motion to amend section, hold on, where is it? Someone help me, please, because I'm looking at Soraya's screen and I can't scroll. Thank you, Soraya. Uh, it is, thank you, section 2, duties and powers. Go up if you wouldn't mind, so I can get the article, the proper article. Go
Article
up.
6.
It's Article 6, right? Yes.
Yeah,
Article
section 2B.
Article 6, section 2B, to add the words at the bottom, ensures that regularly scheduled committee meetings are not held simultaneously. Does everyone understand the nature of what we are voting on? We are voting to add those words to Article 6, Section 2, Subdivision B at the bottom. A yes vote is to amend the bylaws, as we just discussed. A no vote is to not. We are not, the question of deletion is off the table. That is not happening. The only question is, shall we add this language? With that, I'd like to go ahead and ask Tima to take a vote.
Here we go. Gary.
Yes.
Gary said yes?
He did.
I abstain. Helen.
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
Soraya.
Yes.
Erica.
Yes.
Allie.
Yes.
Brennan.
Yes.
Jason.
Yes.
Jim. Is Jim still with us?
Jim.
Sorry, I was muted. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Kenya.
Yes.
Lisa.
Lisa.
You're muted, Lisa.
Yes.
Nico.
Apologize. Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
Sarah. Sarah? We'll come back to Sarah. Ted.
Yes.
Yolanda.
Yes.
Fran.
Yes.
Try Sarah one more time, Sarah. Okay, I'm going to mark Sarah as absent. David, abstain, motion carries.
No, I'm here. Sorry, guys. My phone died. I'm back.
What's your vote?
I don't know. Give me a second.
You can abstain.
Sarah, for whatever it's worth, I'm pretty sure it's going to carry regardless.
It received 16 votes
without
yes,
Sarah. 16.
Okay, so I abstain.
You abstain.
Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
All
But
right.
I am present.
Congratulations, friends. We have managed to amend the bylaws. So with that, we are moving on. We are moving on to issue 5, which are just clarifying non-substantive or minor changes. I hope that all of you had a chance to look at the supporting document. I know Helen was concerned, I want to be clear, only those things that are in the supporting document would be included. They are by and large small things, clarifying non-substantive, not minor or non-substantive changes. There that the rules committee approved. We can take them or leave them, but they are all in the supporting documents. So, so sorry, all. I know it's getting late.
Clarifying question.
Yes.
So I want to understand, why is it just these things? Because when we were presented a somewhat of a redlined version for the March 17th meeting, there was a wide variety of changes that included changing some of the duties of the secretary, taking
Correct.
the power of the board to have call special meetings,
Correct.
removing language that was not part of the charter. And I could go on and on and on.
Can.
So what happened to all those things?
What happened was, to be perfectly honest, Lisa, it's 9:30, and I made a judgment call about what I thought were the things that were most significant and most substantive and required most discussion, and the things that did, and the things that were essentially ministerial. I spoke to Ted, I explained I was going to include as much as I possibly could, and that's what happened. If there is something, if there is something that you are super anxious to have debated that you feel was left out, you can go back to rules. We have one more shot at it. But if I had a 27 item agenda, given how complicated it was with
Okay,
competing
again,
votes,
I don't need to explain it. I still don't understand though. So if we are voting yes, all those things that you think are ministerial, but I disagree, are going
right,
to pass.
that is correct. If
Okay,
you,
then I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to remove issue 5 from the agenda because we were not provided all the proper red line and documentation and information.
Lisa,
Yes.
no, to be clear, the red line, the supporting document has the only proposed changes. Nothing else but what's in the supporting
But
document.
you just
be
told me,
approved.
David, you just told me that you decided that only these things were ministerial and all the other things will pass. And then I said no, because we were not, as a board and the public, provided proper knowledge to remove all these items that include changing the duties of the secretary, removal of a standing committee, elimination of the board's ability to call special meetings, removal of all references of
Those are
governing
not
laws and
right.
policies. I go on and on and on.
Those are not in
So,
there. But wait, Lisa, those are not in there
but
precisely
you just
because.
told me that they will be in there.
Oh, I respectfully, I don't think you heard what I said.
I
The
respectfully don't think you
only,
understand what I am
Lisa,
saying.
please listen to me. The supporting document that Soraya is scrolling through right now, those are the only things we are voting on. I don't know
And
how many,
I'm
I
asking.
don't know how many times I can say, nobody's being
Again,
sneaky.
please listen to me.
Okay.
We were presented a somewhat changed bylaws that at the March 17th meeting that included all those other formative changes. What happened to those? So I'm asking, if we say yes on this item, those are just suddenly going to appear without
For
transparency?
For the third time, nothing is going to appear. They're not being considered.
So what happened to all those things that the board did vote on about removal of those things?
Wait, the board?
I
No,
mean,
the
excuse me,
rules
the
committee. You're talking
committee,
about the rules committee.
the committee. So did
Rules
someone
committee,
in the
correct.
committee decide to
We-
change everything
we
outside of
didn't-
public transparency?
There's a motion to table issue 5. A yes vote will table the entire thing. A no vote is we will consider it. These are, in my view, ministerial changes. Do whatever you guys want. Let's take a vote on the motion to table by Lisa.
You've got to go to
It
public
hasn't been
comment.
seconded.
Correct. No, we don't have to go to public comment on a motion to
Yes,
table.
you do.
No, we do not.
Because this involves the bylaws and it is
Lisa,
important. The
Lisa, you've
public,
moved to
for the
table. There will be nothing
the public
discussed.
has a right to speak on
Lisa,
anything that the board votes
if
on.
Lisa, if the motion to table fails and we're actually going to consider it, then of course we will have public comment. But if your motion succeeds, there is nothing to discuss. So that will be it. We will be done. So there is a motion to table. It requires a second. It will carry with a solely majority vote. If you want to consider these, then then vote no on the motion to table. If you don't want to consider these, vote yes on the motion to table.
Can we put it on the screen because it's not showing? We're seeing section 6.
That's the whole thing.
Thank
It's been
David, can I second it so we can have this conversation?
You can second the motion to table? Yeah.
Yes.
It's gonna go,
Now do what you need to do, please.
right. There's not going to be a discussion on a procedural motion to table. We're just going to proceed to a vote. It either gets tabled or it doesn't. If it doesn't, we'll consider it.
So, a point of information for me,
Yes.
it's like I submitted bylaw amendment that are redlined, that are minor changes to the budget committee, that are not
they're included.
ministerial, but is it being lumped in here? I mean, you
Yes,
promised
they're
me they
included.
would be considered,
They are. They're right in here, Helen.
but I don't want them considered with
Exactly as-
other items. I mean, I would like
Okay.
mine considered separately. Some of this
Okay.
stuff is clearly a major change. I know I'm really confused.
Okay, then it sounds to me like there is not.
David,
But what is
point of
what are you
information.
showing here? This isn't your thing
David,
that you had
it's
before.
like a consent
Respectfully,
without the consent.
Hold on. Hold on. This
What is
this
this?
supporting document has been up since Thursday. It was up before. Nothing has changed. If you don't like it, it's fine. Let's move to a motion to table, and that's completely fine. That's completely fine. And then we won't. It's all right.
David,
I did not have time.
David,
Can I
quick
ask
point
a
of
question,
information.
a point of
Stop.
order?
Stop. Are there points of order? If there are
Yes,
no
point
points
of
of
order,
order,
point of order, point of
yeah,
order.
what? Tell me the rule. Tell me the problem.
This is the rule. This is what because these are bylaws, we can't treat it like consent. But do you have the authority under this to treat specific issues like Helen just brought up as consent? Let her pull it off.
No.
No, you don't.
There is no that you can go back. I'm perfectly happy to have another special meeting. I'm perfectly happy to discuss this at the next board meeting. This is what there is. If you guys are unhappy, it's totally fine. Let's move to table this. Actually, it's sorry. Anyway, we can move to place this on the table.
Table the whole thing, correct?
Correct. Issue 5. We're no longer discussing it. And we
I'll move
will
that
not
to
move,
second it or whatever.
we will not move to even consider it.
Okay.
I think, were we in a different position, we could have a different discussion, but let's just go ahead and do that. So a yes vote is to table this, and we will not have any discussion about it. It will not be discussed by the board, and certainly not ratified. A no vote is we will open it up to public comment and discuss the merits of the non-substantive stuff.
Can I ask
Go
a
ahead.
question, point of question, point of order, point of, what do I say? Point of what?
Information.
Information. Thank you.
Yes.
So if we table this,
Mm-hmm.
what about this and all the things Lisa was just talking about? Will they be resolved before we,
That will be up to, I suppose, the Rules Committee and whoever else wants to.
but we have a May 1st deadline, right?
We do. This is what we're dealing with. So we're
Right.
doing our
So
best.
what about all the things? Because I don't know the things Lisa was talking about. When can we
There were a
address
number
those?
of,
I don't know what they are.
there were a
I
number
read
of,
all these and I was cool, and I called you about a couple of them, but what?
there were some additional things in the look, there was a 20-page document with
Yeah.
150 crossouts, lineups, what have you.
And when can we address those?
Well, we can't. We can't.
We
don't
can't?
have to. No, I mean,
Okay.
if you guys want to have another special meeting and you guys want to do that, it's fine. Let's do it. We can call a special meeting for the day after tomorrow, or a third or a fourth or a fifth one. But
Problem is,
at some point,
yeah.
hey, folks,
No.
at some point, there's a limit to what we can do. This is already, we've been doing well. There are 14 other extremely relatively minor to but not, in my view, non-controversial things that we could have discussed and debated that were proposed in various articles. If any of those are urgent, then tell the Rules Committee to bring them back. That's fine with me. I have no skin in this game, none whatsoever. My only goal here was to find the places where the Rules Committee wanted to substitute the VNC for the word council, or wanted to alphabetize the list of committees, or Helen wanted
list.
change some stuff, to change some words that did not in any way change the meaning of what was going on. Like those things I tried to put together in a document to get as much done as possible from the Rules Committee without creating a problem. Obviously, there is a problem. So there is
Well,
no.
I think the problem is with other things, but can we vote on these things which are not controversial anyway and get them at least done?
Non-controversial.
Oh, they're
No,
not?
Because they put everything together. That's what the problem is. We can't break things out, correct? Because if we could break things out, it'd be a different story.
Do you want to discuss whether or not the word VNC should replace the word council in Article 5, Section 5, duties and
No.
powers? Sure. Why don't we do each one of these? I'm ready to go till midnight, 1 or 2 a.m. Let's do it.
David,
Let's do it.
David,
I'm totally serious.
David.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a feeling we've kind of gone off track here because we've started to have the discussion outside of discussion because
That's
of this
correct.
whole,
I'm sorry.
tabling issue. And
We
at
should have
this
just moved
point,
to a vote.
yeah, maybe at this point, just because I think there's a lot of confusion about what the vote is on, maybe it would be helpful to briefly just go through what the changes are that they're tabling so that everyone actually understands how uncontroversial this really is.
Okay,
so that we can continue and get it over with.
Do you want to withdraw the motion to table while we do that, and we can take public comment on this, and then we can go through, or do you want to insist? I'm talking to you, Lisa.
Answered well on what happened to all those other things that we are blindly voting yes on. Like if we're alphabetizing things, where is that alphabetized list? We were not provided a clear red line version as we should have been.
Lisa, if you look, I'm a little concerned. You're somebody who is very, very meticulous. I'm sure you read the agenda. The reason, correct. So issue
David,
6.
I'm going to withdraw my second.
Okay, thank you. Issue 6, Lisa, is final language markup implementation, in which we take all of these and create a final red line that comes back to the board for final ratification. Nobody's trying to sneak anything by anybody. The idea was merely to make the changes in such a way that everybody could see exactly what they were without competing red lines, without all the confusion. And this was the best I came up with. I'm sorry that it has fallen short in your eyes. I accept that. It is fine.
That passive aggressive statement.
No, look.
Okay, this is okay. You know what? This is out of order. This is totally out of order. It's disrespectful.
Stop, Gary.
Stop
for a moment. Okay. I think Ted's suggestion is a good one. I would like to go through the red line very, very quickly. I had hoped that everybody had done this, but let us go through it. I think it's important for the public to hear. We will open it up to public comment on all these. Under Article 5, Section 5, duty of powers, we would change the word council to VNC, and to carry out it, no individual member of the board other than the president shall speak for the board otherwise represent a board position unless authorized to do so by official action of the board. The board may, and then once again, we just change the word council to VNC, and again, the word council to VNC. Later in Article 6.
Point of information, David.
Yes.
If we change the word council to VNC, will this then be carried over where there are other places in the bylaws that were submitted, the red line that have council?
I think I tried to find the places where
there's a whole bunch, and in fact, one of the word councils got changed to stakeholder. So
well, then no.
That's a problem.
Hold on. Then the answer to your question, as I've said over and over, is what is in this document is what guides us. That's all.
So it won't be consistent. Okay. All right. That's all I want to know.
What's in this document would guide us. Under Article 5, Section 6, the word appointed would be changed to selected. I'm not sure what the.
Why?
this was proposed, this was a proposal, one of many, 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 many proposals by the Rules Committee. I literally thought it was, in my mind, non-controversial. Saray, can we go down a bit? In Article 7, here again, the word council is changed to VNC. The word council is changed to VNC. And then it says, when the position is announced as vacant, it will be filled. And instead of via the council's vacancy clause as any other, it just says will be filled as any other board vacancy is filled.
I think the original one is better. That sounds.
Yep.
Come
No,
on.
but I'm like I said, I have no skin in any of this game. This seemed to me, these seem to me all to be six of one, half a dozen of the other. This is what the Rules Committee suggested. I'm literally. The next one, officers of the board. It changes. Officers of the VNC board, quote, officers shall include the following positions, which together comprise the executive officers, president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. And instead of that, it says the president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary are the executive officers. Again, that seemed to me to be essentially the same thing. That is what the Rules Committee proposed. That is what's in there. Article 7, Section 1B. Oversees and administers VNC financial matters and expenditures. It seemed to me that expenditures were financial matters, so I didn't think that mattered. Including a system of financial accountability as required by the department in the city of Los Angeles, vets all neighborhood purpose grants for accuracy and compliance. It seems to me the word vets includes accuracy and compliance, so I did not think that was a significant change. Reviews all spending applications, and the word changed to the word requests. It seemed to me applications and requests were basically the same. And so there you go.
There's been problems with that. This is why this is specified dialogue, because there's been a lot of issues with the wording before. That one I'm familiar with, actually.
Okay. I'm just telling you in my view.
This one I find interesting because I wasn't consulted on this, and I think this is not a good idea.
Erica, let him finish.
I second
Mute
Lisa's
yourself.
motion.
Point of order. Point of order.
Okay. I think here's what's clear to me. There is not in any universe going to be 14 votes to ratify this. So it seems to me, that
There might be. There's
either
a
we take
second
public,
on the floor to table it.
there's a motion on the floor to table it. We should have simply done, this is a failure of my part. A motion was made, it was seconded, it deserves an immediate vote. There's a motion to table. A yes vote tables this and we're done. A no vote, we will consider it further and open it up to public comment.
Because I know that Gary rescinded his.
Okay, let's have a vote. Tima, if you would.
Sorry, I was muted. This is are we motioning to vote or motioning to table?
No, to table.
Okay,
A yes
motion
vote
to table.
tables the motion, a no vote does not.
Gary?
No.
I vote no. Helen?
I vote yes.
Mark?
No.
Soraya?
No.
Erica?
Yes.
Allie?
No.
Brennan?
No.
Jason?
Yes.
Jim?
No.
Kenya? Kenya?
Did Kenya?
I think we lost Kenya.
Okay. Lisa?
Yes.
Nico?
I think we may have lost Nico.
He was having phone problems earlier.
Richard?
I don't see him on here. Yeah.
Oh, Nico, what's your vote?
No, Nico's not on here.
Oh, okay. Richard?
What is it again?
Motion
I
to
don't want to
table.
table
Yes
it.
is to table. No is to continue.
No, then I'm sorry.
Sarah?
Yes.
Ted?
No.
Yolanda?
No.
Fran?
No.
David abstains. Motion to table is denied.
let's carry on with issue 5.
Then I'd like to open it up to public comment. I see two folks. Remind me, I'm so sorry. I keep looking at the word and I know it's the wrong person.
Scott.
Scott. Sorry, Scott. Sorry. It's just very hard for me from Scott, why don't you go ahead?
Let me get my notes here. This is reminiscent of the last board meeting where you pushed through the old agenda and the new agenda. And it was concerning to see board members limited on discussion and being silenced. I think you need to discuss these sections one by one, not lump them all together. It's confusing. Alone in the first one, you're giving the president the right to speak for the board. This is a major change. How can one individual have the power to speak for the board and others can't? As far as I'm concerned, no one can speak for the board. Whatever the board passes should speak for the board. If you want to talk about why you voted a certain way, then fine, that's fine. And you should have included a link to these so-called minor changes so that you could just click on the link and see exactly what 5 is, 6 is, 7 is, 8 is. I'm all of a sudden seeing this for like the first time. This needs to be accessible online. So I think you need to table this, to be honest. I'm like kind of shocked that you guys are just like wanting to push all this stuff through. And a lot of you are kind of like acting like you've seen this for the first time. And you're making major decisions that you're not really critically thinking about how it affects the people you serve. That's all I got to say.
Okay. Ian, go ahead. Ian?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So here's the thing. I'm sure that, some of these things may make sense to do, but I can't trust anything that comes out of that rules committee. I saw way too much to not be able to see that. And so I would suggest that you do this a little bit more openly. You have a red line version in paper copy at the meeting so people can speak to these items. If these are immaterial, if they don't really make a difference, then why the fuck do it? It doesn't make any sense. You've been living, it's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This, feels like a need to do something. But the reality is there's no need. If people have been doing fine by calling it the council or VNC, it doesn't really matter. So I think the move to table was probably the wisest thing to do. And you could take this up at Rules Committee or AdCom or just in the body of the meeting.
Thanks,
on the 21st. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Go ahead, Robin. Robin Muris.
Hi. Yeah, so I just unmuted. So I agree with the two prior speakers, and I also am concerned about in that first paragraph saying that no individual member of the board other than the president shall speak for the board. There are hearings that are held where they ask for a representative of the neighborhood councils to speak. That wouldn't always be the president who would have to do that. That can be anyone who is authorized to speak for the board. So I think that's problematic if I'm understanding it correctly. And I do think that these, you're right, David, that many things don't seem to be significant, but some are. And, again, as the other two speakers said, I think this really needs clear evaluation and should not be voted on tonight and not as a whole. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks so much, Robin. Let's move on to board comment on this. Go ahead, Jason. I see your hand, and you have barely spoken, so I'd really love to let you go first.
No, I'm I forgot. Hang on, guys. Okay, get on camera. No, I No, I'm fine. It's just that, yes, I did read that. I did not have a clear understanding. Perhaps it's my misreading. I did not have a clear understanding that all of those red lines in the supporting documents would go through with no discussion from the board. I'm kind of just against any kind of that top-down decision making without the rest of the democratic process.
Okay, great. Sarah, go ahead, and then Gary.
There was no community outreach. There were no meetings. There was one guy that decided he was going to try to push something through, and the community heard nothing. A group of 4 people basically decided they're making decisions for the entirety of Venice. It's disturbing. It's despicable. It is most definitely not the spirit of Venice whatsoever in any capacity. It is the spirit of a need for power, and that is not Venice. So I don't know. I don't know why we're even here with this. I can't even believe we're even considering this. It really is horrific what happens, because once you do things, you can't just undo them simply. And a lot of things have been destroyed in Venice by this exact type of crap. You shove something down everyone's throat because a small, minute group of people that didn't ask a single person what the hell they thought or felt and made a permanent decision for the entirety of our community. And then, the next thing, they move out of the neighborhood because it was just the flavor for a few years. Enough. Enough already. Basta.
Okay, thanks, Sarah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah. Soraya, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment that I think it is a little disheartening continuing to hear the criticism of the Rules and Elections Committee. Because I understand that it was a really sensitive moment when a large chunk of changes were brought as a unified group. I think it's true that there was a lot of ambition. We knew there was a deadline pending, and I think the committee was trying to do their best to get some meaningful changes in quickly. And I think I could have I was really subscribed to the argument that this is a small group of people pushing changes forward a couple months ago when the proposal was first pitched. But since then, we've had, I think, 3 meetings since the first Rules and Elections Committee was hosted to reconsider the bylaws. There have been 2 Rules and Elections Committee meetings since then. The proposal was brought to the board, discussed. Then a petitioner's proposal was brought to the board, discussed. And now we're having another meeting to discuss these changes. And even still, the changes have been further broken down so that rather than identifying going word by word with a committee of 50 people, we can talk about those and try to get some changes across the finish line. And I think what's scary for me is if we cannot agree on a set of non-controversial changes where everyone on this board was supposed to do the homework before this meeting, review this list, and bring it up ahead of time so that you can identify problems with it in a discrete and explicit way. And the fact that we can't do that is really disheartening for me. So I'd really encourage everyone to open your minds to there have now been several months and several versions of this proposal, and this is now the smallest version that is trying to get pushed across. And I would encourage us to look at it like that rather than the continued of rushing trying to get a large chunk of changes through.
Thanks, Soraya. Brennan, again, also, you have spoken very little, so I'd love to go straight to you.
Yeah, thanks, David. No worries. Just quickly, I wanted to echo exactly what Soraya just said. Throughout the night, I think I've had the experience that my mind keeps going back to the homework email that was sent out.
Sorry.
A lot of this has been accessible since Thursday or whenever it went out. We all have David's email address, his phone number, his address at this point. I just think, a lot of this back and forth, it doesn't necessarily need to happen over the airwaves. But here we are.
Thanks, Brennan. All right. Lisa, Helen, Gary, and Erica. And go ahead. Lisa, go ahead.
This back and forth does need to happen. And I'm sorry, some people disagree. The rules and elections had 2 meetings, 5 days apart in early February. Were they under a time crunch? Absolutely. Did they have lots of other time to have multiple meetings to do outreach to the community? Absolutely. They didn't. Could they have brought this to us, to the board in chunks? Yes. Did they decide as one to just bring it as one chunk at the very last minute? That's what they did. And here we are. Plus, they also were saying during their meetings, well, let's not let perfection be the enemy of good. Well, this is our Constitution. This is where perfection should matter. These are not ministerial changes. These are really hard changes. Some of them were just changes because, like, hey, we're having fun. Let's make changes just so we can make changes. But those changes changed the meaning, too, of our bylaws and our thinking and our feeling and how we behave. I'm really sorry that Helen's changes are getting part of this, and we need to pull those out separately for the next meeting. But I'm voting no on this because there are too many hard changes. And I agree with what the stakeholders said. Again, let's listen to what the stakeholders are saying.
Thank you, Lisa.
How many stakeholders are here supporting the changes of the Rules and Elections Committee? 0.
Okay. Helen, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, Soraya, could you move the clock aside? Because I wanted to go. Yeah, thank you. And then you can scroll. I'll tell you when I need to have it scrolled up. Thank you. Okay, I just want to go article by article. The first one, these changes from the council to the VNC, I almost think that's kind of a gratuitous change. It's unnecessary, as someone pointed out already. And it's not going to be consistent because if all we're voting on this one, it's in another bunch of places and includes changing the word council to stakeholder in one place. Consistency is important in the bylaws. You can't have one article using different words in another one. Article 5, Section 6. The word appointed versus selected is a difference, folks. We appoint people. We have a formal procedure to appoint a board vacancy, to appoint people to LUPEC. We do not do a selection process. Selection is defined as a much more casual thing. You're picking people off a list. No, we have a formal procedure. That word does not belong there, selected. We don't do selections. We're doing appointments. If you could keep going. In this one, again, the VNC council thing, gratuitous. Again, changing the word, the council's vacancy clause is just, it's like, why? I mean, why are you doing this change? Just to be doing a change? It's not an important change. I don't understand Article 6, Section 1.
Helen,
What?
I think we've got the point. And I
want to go through these because there are reasons why people are objecting to this.
I understand. I understand that. Let's try to let everybody speak. I see Jen.
Well, I've been very careful about only speaking for 1 minute and 30 seconds or less. I mean, have not gone over my time, unlike other board members here. So I'm a little annoyed that I'm getting cut off. Can I at least address outreach?
Sure.
But I assume Erica will address that. That's just ridiculous.
If you want to do that, do that, of course.
I mean,
I'm just trying to listen. I'm just trying to let everybody.
I'm just trying to go through these quickly. That these changes don't even make any sense. They didn't even discuss these changes in their committee. They just changed it for outreach. They didn't talk to Erica or anything. You talk about Article 7, Section 1. I don't know why they're changing that. Did Oceanfront Walk want that change made to their stuff? And then. Why are they changing Article 10, Section 4? The language is perfectly fine. They're just changing it to be changing it. The same with the training. It's like it's not. We're wasting our time on just basically things that weren't important to be changed. And they could have addressed the important issues, which were basically structure, and they didn't. They just made a whole bunch of changes. And the only reason I submitted my budget changes because I got sick and tired of a few board members, some of which are no longer on this board, arguing about the definition of vet. So we, as a group, my committee decided we're going to expand it a little bit because we're tired of arguing with people who don't understand terms that are used in finance. And that's all I've got to say. If we're going to vote this thing as a whole thing, then I'm voting no. I prefer to vote.
I understand. Jim, I saw your hand's been up for a long time. Go ahead, and then Erica,
Oh,
and
I
then
just, I don't know. I put my hand up and I took it down. I'm listening to the comments and I'm hearing comment after comment about process. I went to a couple of the meetings of the Rules Committee. They were public meetings. They were slow and deliberate. So I'd like to thank the Rules Committee for their work. Whether you like the outcome or not, they did the work. They had the meetings. I'm concerned that we're skipping past that. And here I am talking about process again. I haven't heard anything really terrible about any of these things. They seem like reasonable or kind of, I don't get what's bad about these changes.
all right. Thanks so much. Erica, why don't you go ahead, and then we're going to end with Gary. Lisa, I see that your hand's up, and Sarah, I see your hands up. I'm if there's really something that's responsive and new, you can have another 30 seconds. But Erica, go ahead.
Okay. I think the lesson here is that in the future we should just evaluate things individually so that we don't have to go through this kind of a process. For the outreach committee to take out the line performs ongoing outreach to stakeholders, I I mean that is the job of the outreach person. I'm not sure why that would be removed. It makes it very clear like what we do. Also, removing works with stakeholders, board members, and committees. It's important to define that. I don't, again, understand why we're removing that. One of the issues that's been coming up a lot in this iteration of the board is there's a lot of things taken out of context. And, things can be subjective when you take them out of context and they can be morphed to mean something else other than what they're really meant to mean. And that's caused a lot of confusion. I'd really like to see that not continue. I too just feel that some of the things that are being changed, it's almost like, oh, we're supposed to change the bylaws in this window, so let's make all these changes. It's kind of like, let's change things that really need to be changed. I mean, maybe some things do, but a lot of this change does not seem necessary, and some of it does change the context. I don't see why those things are removed out of outreach. It does not make sense to me. It does not specify what the position is in a positive manner, I don't think. And I strongly think that I strongly will say that the finance one does need to exist because of exactly what Helen said. There was a lot of controversy over the wording, and I
Thank
think
you,
that
Erica.
we need clarity. So thank you.
Gary, go ahead.
First of all, thank you to the Rules and Elections Committee. You've done yeoman work, amazing work, particularly to Liz and Ted. Look, I think most of what's in here really is for the ministerial. I hesitate to do this at 10 o'clock at night, but there's a couple of things in here that I know go against larger policy. One of which is the word appointment that needs to stay in because that's what it is. That's what the city calls it. So I want to make a motion to reinstate that word. I'd like to make a
Gary,
motion.
I'm not gonna, given where we are, I'm not gonna accept amendments to this. We're just gonna, it's pretty clear there are not 14 votes to do this.
Okay, then I'll call the question.
That'd be great. Okay. The question, then I think we're done. Um, do you want to go through the process of voting on calling the question, or can we simply move on to a vote?
I'm happy to
I don't
move
think
on.
there's anybody else. I don't
I'm
think there's.
happy to vote. Yeah.
I know Lisa, Lisa, your hand is still up. If you want a final 30 seconds, you can feel free.
We're going to take another round of 30 seconds.
No,
I just have
you.
to mention that the bylaws are standardized and they're for a reason. There's a template that the board, that Dunn provides. They removed a lot of these things and took away the standardization, and including some of these words, as Helen pointed out, do change the meaning. And I also don't feel that we got all those information, like the things that are being alphabetized. When they were alphabetizing, they left out a standing committee. So for this reason, we have to say no.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. All right, we're going to move to a vote. I'm actually just going to say I'm a little bit disappointed. I couldn't care less whether these pass or not. They seem to me, which is why I included them in this section, to literally make virtually no difference. They were what the Rules Committee voted on. It seemed to me reasonable to have the board ratify them, or not reasonable, but crucial, since it requires a 2/3 vote to do it. I am, again, I do feel like there is an awful lot of talk and complaint about process rather than evaluation of what's in front of us. I understand, and so I don't need to belabor the point. I do think we need to move to a vote. As with everything else, it requires 14 votes. I think this is a foregone conclusion, but I'd ask you to go ahead, Tima, and take the and go ahead and call the roll.
Tima,
I'm
realize
sorry.
there's only
No,
16
sorry.
people there.
You're all right. It's getting late. I'm a little less resilient today than I might otherwise be. So the motion on the floor, the motion, I believe, would be, shall the non-substantive changes, including those contained in the supporting documents, non-controversial and minor provisions, be adopted? A yes vote would be to adopt these provisions. A no vote is to not adopt the provisions.
Point of order.
Go ahead, Gary.
Just want to point out there's only 16 board members here, so 2 no votes kills it.
That is correct. It requires 14 votes regardless, because the bylaws say 2/3 of the entire board. So that's
And an
correct.
abstention is counting as a no vote.
That is correct. They have to be 14 yes votes. That is correct. So we'll go ahead. We'll go ahead, call the roll, and I think, and then yes, let's just go ahead and do that. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead, Tima, if you would. Tima,
go off. Hey.
Sorry
No,
about that. I was muted. I apologize.
No
Okay.
problem.
Gary,
Yes.
I vote yes. Helen,
No means we're not dealing with this, correct? I'm
Correct.
voting no. Okay.
no. Okay. Mark,
Yes.
Soraya,
Yes.
Erica,
No.
Allie,
Yes.
Brennan.
I think Brennan had to go.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Jason,
Oh, Jason's there, yeah.
Yeah, I'm here, man. Oh, so a no is to just, I'll just vote yes, whatever.
Jim,
Yes.
Kenya,
Gone. She's not here.
Lisa. Did you say yes? I
Wait.
apologize, Lisa. It broke up.
Said no.
Oh, thank you very much. Nico,
Gone.
Nico's here. Nico's not here.
Richard,
Yes.
Sarah,
No, thank you, please.
Ted,
Yes.
Yolanda,
Yes.
Fran,
Yes.
and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Doesn't matter. We need 14, right?
That is
Yep.
correct.
So
So
motion
that
kills.
yes.
What
That
were
motion-
who were the 5 no votes? I counted 3.
I've got Helen as a no, Erica as a no, Lisa as a no, and Sarah as a no.
Got it.
4 no's.
There you go.
Okay. This brings us to issue 6, which I am going to say is no longer no longer worth discussing. So the reason for that, if I might explain very briefly, is that the only change that has been ratified tonight is the change in the description of the vice president, with the additional few words indicating that the vice president, and per Helen's preference, that would be bullet point 3 rather than bullet point 2. I don't think there needs to be any committee, any meeting, or anything done in order to make that sole change to our bylaws. So, with that, unless there is an objection, I think issue 6 is essentially moot.
May I ask a question of you, David? Who will be then preparing the red line with the BAC, et cetera? Are you going to take care of that?
I can take care of that. Anybody who wants to can take care of it. I don't have any doubt that
Well, it
any
has to be
one of us.
submitted. There's a formal
Sure.
application,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. I
Okay.
will.
Okay.
I don't even think, to be honest, that this requires these changes. Thus, this does not require additional board approval. There's no reason for us to go back and vote again on the one change that we made vis-a-vis the role of the vice president.
Right.
So I will, Helen, I'm sure I'll have questions. I will reach out to you in order to do that. But unless there is some objection, I suggest that we simply not, there's no reason to address issue 6.
So are we not addressing anything at the next board meeting, or we're done with bylaws?
We are done with bylaws unless something
Okay.
else comes out of the rules committee. If
Okay.
something else comes out of rules or comes to AdCom, again, I'm totally happy
Okay.
to discuss it. Totally
Okay.
happy to do it.
Right.
And we can do that. Before we adjourn, friends, we do need to have public comment on non-agenda items, and I would like to open that up. I already see a hand from Liz. And I want to offer anybody else who wants to speak. I see you, Lydia, as well. Go ahead, Liz.
I heard more than one person talk about appoint versus select. In the last few years, the name of the committee changed from Rules and Elections to Rules and Selection.
Selections, yes.
That is because new board members and members of LUPC are selected by the board. There is more than one candidate. The board decides. It is not an appointment. It is a selection. And that's why the word was changed. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Lydia, why don't you go ahead?
I'm so glad we had this time together just to have a laugh or sing a song. And before you know it, comes a time we have to say, I messed it up. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, Lydia. I wish I had known that's what you were going to sing. I would have made you the very
Totally
last
messed
thing.
it up. I'm so tired. I can't imagine how tired you guys are. And thank you. We'll sing it correctly next time.
Thank you so much, Lydia.
Good night.
Good night. Nick, I see you, and then and then go ahead, Nick. Sorry. Nick?
Go on.
Yeah, I don't
Hello?
see him here anymore.
Oh, that's so strange. Okay.
Better to leave it with Lydia's.
I see.
Positive.
Ian, why don't you go ahead?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I don't know why anyone's defending the Rules Committee or its chair. That was some shady S. I sat through that meeting, and there was, people from the community were saying, don't do this, and they had a plan. And it was a plan to streamline the fascist takeover of Venice. And, I'm sorry. I don't appreciate it. I don't know why the hell this was even there. We should have just taken the substitute motion from the petitioners as a substitute motion, voted it up or down, and then this whole meeting could have been like a half hour. But instead, it's just nonsense. And cabling was probably a great idea. Adjourning, a great idea. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Okay. For the last word. The last word of the night. Sorry, the dogs are anxious. Scott, take it away.
Yeah, I hear that, this stuff got sent to the board members on Thursday, and that's supposed to be enough time for you to figure this all out and go reach your constituents and talk to people and let them know about this. That's not adequate time. I didn't hear any mention about all I heard was the board needs to know this. I didn't hear any mention about the public has a right to know. I hear these people saying like, you knew about this since Thursday. And it's just like frustrating. I don't hear anything about the stakeholders. It's like, I'm like starting to like think like some of you guys like really don't care about us. It's important to have links that point out exactly what's being changed. We don't have the access to all this stuff. So make sure it's accessible, it's there, and give us more time than just Thursday to read through all this, or or a couple days or whatever. These are major changes. This should be like a 2-3 month process to get everybody's input in, to do your best to try to serve the stakeholders. Thank you for my time.
David, can I announce the event that's on Saturday? I mean, Sunday. I'm sorry, it's on Sunday.
You're muted, David, but that looks like a yes.
Just everybody, I just want to remind everyone that
Yes.
this Sunday, the 12th at Penmar Park is the Pet Resource Fair. A lot of free things going on there. There's going to be doggy yoga and all kinds of fun resources throughout the day. It's a great, fun family event. I will be there with some of my team. I wish all my team could come. I'm not sure, if all of them can come or not, but also I believe that Keith will be there with some tsunami information, because we've got to keep our pets safe if the big tsunami comes. So it's about disaster resiliency too, because we just had our town hall. I'm sure some of you guys saw the nice message that Soraya sent out with the recap if you haven't seen that. So come and join us on Sunday at Penmar Park. It's from 8 a.m. to 2. To like 2. Thanks.
Thanks, Erica. Just before we adjourn, I want to also let everybody know, obviously, I will also announce this formally, and we'll do all the things, but want to give you the heads up that May 2nd, rather than April 25th, because I've been trying to find people, I've been trying to coordinate with facilitators. May 2nd, which is a Saturday, the week after April 25th, will be our board retreat. It'll be a special meeting and will be our board retreat. And hopefully it'll be great. And hopefully it will really help us to try to envision what we want to do and how we can come together. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys all will as well. And more information on that is forthcoming soon. Anyway, thank you all for your thoughts. Thank you all for your consideration. I will see you all at the regularly scheduled meeting on the 21st.
Night. Thank you so
Night.
much.
Our meeting is adjourned 10:19 p.m.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Thanks for participating.